Name game.
Hello, everybody. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. How are you? I'm not at home right now, but you probably knew. If you're fun and you're handsome and if freaking is your fancy, if you're cold and you're bold, then you ought to be told to leave your name and number at the sound of the phone, the sound of the tone, all alone. Krellin asks, is this a professor shirt? It is indeed. I'm teaching Tuesdays and Thursdays this semester, and so you do have me back in my professor drag. I could be using my other headphones, but I'm not. So there's that. Hi, everybody. How are you? And also, Hawkeye, do not think that you can escape me, because you cannot. I saw what you did. Hawkeye. I saw what you did. I did. I saw it. And I think you know what that means. The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there, and then a B or an F, or an M will appear, and then I say boo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fenner, info, then I say the name again with an F, very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo, and then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can rhyme. Hawkeye, 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 bo Buckeye, banana, ganna, banana, fana, for fuck guy, fee, fi, mo, mock guy. Hawkeye, the name game. Woo! Thank you for that resub. 39 months. That's a long time. That's been a while. How are you all? I'm excited. You know, I was sick last weekend, which was not great for me. I didn't enjoy that. That wasn't fun. But, where am I at? There, that feels better to me. Anyhow, so I was sick, but I'm feeling better now, so that's good. Affiliate static and animated emote slots increased from 20 to... Oh, I should go and check that out. So I understand they are increasing the numbers of emotes you get. Time for more work. Yes, I need to think about that. Look, I need to talk to you all. I don't need to, but I want to. I want to talk to you all. How are you? Just so you know, that in this mug, which has a little sippy cup top, so if I spill it, I don't ruin the world, I've got some Starbeam chocolate milk. And it's really good. I mean, it's just chocolate milk, but you know what I mean. You know, I'm drinking chocolate milk. By the way, let me know if I am popping and crackling. I was trying to get this fixed up. Let me see what we got here. Am I? Let me know if I'm popping and crackling. A bit? Okay, let's see what we have here. Let me know if that fixes it. Let me know. Better? Let's see. Is better? Good, good. The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play again. No, I should sing something different.
We're in the money.
Oh, well, that's what I'll sing then. Thank you for those bits, Krellin. I'm going to sing We're in the Money, as sung by Ginger Rogers in the film Gold Diggers of 1933, which means I'm going to sing it in Pig Latin. Airway and hey, the anime. Airway and hey, the anime. Way up, way up, way up, way up, way up, way to utit, young way. Airway and hey, the anime. The ice skates are on say. Old man, the ocean pray, ooh, yare, ooh, three, you are down way on rayo. Even eat red lands lay, way at Brian's lay, ooh, day. And when we see the end, the order look up the eye, get rid the eye, we're in the money. Are in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. Carlin says, I think Crapple and Papa left the building. Billy Snap is still here, but he's okay. Good, good. Thank you, by the way, for that. I was checking out stuff while we're going. Look, so we just started class. It's my first week down, technically my second, but my first week where I was not feeling like death. So that's pretty good. I've got a lot. I've got thoughts in my mind. First off, let me tell you, I'm giving a paper in Texas next Saturday, so not the one in 2 days, but the one after that, so I've got a lot of work I have to do. That's off toga, dig 'em. Also, I got to do a lot of work. It's the beginning of the semester, so I've got a lot of class prep to do to set things up, and got to work on this paper that I'm giving. Also, I am on way too many committees, so there's a lot going on in my life right now, but I have other things I want to talk to you about nonetheless. So here's the first thing I want to tell you. I owe you all a Patreon letter, and I'm working on it. I'm working on something else. First, there's all this stuff I got to get through, but I'm working on something else first, which is I'm working on these gladiator cards because I really want to run Blood and Sand again. Like I want that to be the announcement on the Patreon letter, which is for everybody. It's not locked. It's open to everybody. But I want to announce it on the Patreon letter. And I am not done with the cards yet, but I'm actually pretty far because I have this idea about how I want to do it this time around. I know what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to create a Google form so for people who want to I want to play in the tournament this time, fill out this Google form. But the Google form will give you certain options, right? So if I'm already started the Google form and I'm working on it. But what I would do is I would say, hey, if you want to play, here are the types of gladiator you can be. Which one do you want to be? Do you want me to make the character for you, or do you want to go through it? Because we're going through templates, I actually think that I can set up a sort of a character creation process through Google Forms, wherein you can because it's using Google Gladiators uses a template system, so you can spend 20 points in advantages. So I think I can give everybody these questions where they can say what they want to actually build out their character just through the Google Forms, and then I'll input it into the Roll20. So it'll allow people to customize their character, and I'm really excited about doing that. And I'm also working on just making things a little bit clearer. So I want to get that done so that I can announce it in the Patreon letter, which is open to everybody. And I'm very close. I do have to balance how much time I spend with that part, the opening part, with getting this paper ready. But I'm telling you right now that I have basically almost all of the initial parts done. At least they're only going to be partially done because they have to be finished by Anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is I'm really excited about it. As you sit and talk, the robot is back. I see. Snap, Crackle, and Pop is back. Give me a second. Let me see. I was having a little bit of a weirdness earlier today. How you doing, Audio Hijack? What's going on with you? Okay. This is, how are we feeling? How are we feeling right now about this? Talk to me. Give me some feedback. Let me know. Probably gonna have to go and like ponder this just a little bit. Yeah, it's clear but quiet, right? What about now? What about now? Tell me about that. I'm louder. Am I getting crackles? Do you know what I need? I know what I need. Oh, game is loud? Thank you. I can fix that. That's easy to fix. Give me a second. That's just an equalizer. I don't want that. Mm-mm-mm. Do you know what I need? Do you know what I need? Give me a second. I know what I need. I need... Give me a second. I have a thought. Ba 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 ba. That's what I need. I need a waterfall.
Give me
This, there. What I need a dedicated sound guy to get me live. All right, give me a moment. Let's see. I've just added. Ooh, hold on a second. Give me a moment right there. What are you doing? All right, let's see. How is this? Now, what I really want is a doing sound on the fly when I'm listening to my voice is a little bit weird. Take this with me. Let's see what I just put a little bit of a compressor on it. Let's see what this sounds like, and we can see how that goes. We'll see how it goes. What I really want is a limiter on the fly. That's really what I want. It's gone now. Yeah, that should be gone. Hold on. Give me a moment. All the greats do this. All right, come here, limiter. How you doing? So, okay. This is all very, what's the word? It's a little jank. Here we go. This is rough. This is a little rough and dirty situation. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, there's just the ghost of Crash Road sneaking in. I think this should give us some joy. We'll see how we go. Look, it's a little, normally when I do my sound stuff, right, what happens is I am not live. I speak into the mic and I record it, and then I listen back to it and see what's up, and then I do my adjustments and do that process of like speaking into the mic, recording it, playing it back, doing adjustments and seeing what I think about it. But this is a little bit of a on the fly. And I hope it'll be good. Let me know if things get weird. It's probably just about a bit of an overdrive, so just let me know. Okay. I feel like I'm kind of low over here because I'm looking at, like, I'm in the I feel a little low. I feel like my volume's a tad low, but we'll see. Volpa says, I know a few people whose GoXLR died with the last update and found out as they went live, so this is fine. Fair. Also, by the way, I can't use a GoXLR because it's PC only. So I'm doing it the more old school way, all by hand. It's fine. The cracks are coming back, are they? Hold on, let's see. In which case...
Name game.
I see you. I'm gonna just do a thing right now. I'm gonna sing this, but I'm gonna be noticing something. Okay, so we're gonna just test this. No, you can't see the game yet. We're just testing some audio to see what we can do to make this not peak, basically. I just threw on. Now, please note, I'm doing this on the fly without hearing what I sound like. So we're gonna just hope that this is good. But I just put a limiter on this, and let's see if that'll keep us good for the moment. We'll check it out. Okay, so the name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name. I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F. More an M will appear. And then I say bow at a B. Then I say the name. Then banana, fatter, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. Then I say the name again with an M this time. And there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Rissa, bobissa, banana, fana, fofissa, fee, fi, mo, missa. Rissa, the name game. Woo! Thank you for that resub. Yes. I'm gonna rework my audio chain later. Don't worry about it. But this is all right. You know, I put a ceiling on us, so I think this should be decent. We'll see how it goes. So I have a Discord. So no, I'm totally gonna play because I have some very big things to talk about. So, you know, I'm just jumping in. Anyhow, let me know if things get weird and we'll work on it. And I'm certainly gonna work on it when I get offline before we go live with during tonight when we've got the finale of Candela Obscura, which, you know, watching it with me. Okay, so I want to talk about capitalism for a moment, but yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to talk about capitalism for a moment. And so, is it back? Is it really? It's back. It's back. Okay, hold on. Okay, how about now? How are we doing? Give me some thoughts. Something with it picking up my speaking voice. Yeah, I put a. It sounds better, and I can increase my output ceiling. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I want to tell you something now. I've just increased the output ceiling a little bit further, so I should not be able to get higher than minus 6 dB. So, right, that should be a thing. We will, right? That's yes. We will continue on with this experiment. Look, I'm gonna just have to reset. Clearly, my gain got weird, and we'll just have to fix it. It almost seems like it's struggling with the lower volumes. Well, it could be. Well, I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out what's going on. I'm going to go and investigate. Let me know if it's too distressing. Okay, so capitalism, right? I think what I've been noticing is that there is some. Am I still crackling and popping? Am I really? Hold on. Give me a second. Here. We've got to come here for it because I need to like pop off so I can look at my audio stuff. Give me a moment. Well, this is what we're going to do. Hello? Hello. 1 2. 1 2. Test 1 2. Test. Test. 1 2. All right, I'm not hearing. I'm rooting into myself so I'm hearing myself in my headphones and I'm not hearing a snap, crackle or pop. Hello. Okay. Wait. Experiment. Hello. Test. Test. Okay. So I think we're good. I'll continue to troubleshoot a little bit later. I'm like my levels are looking pretty decent. So I want to talk to you all about capitalism, but Marxism, but also some misunderstandings about the way that people are using it nowadays in ways that I think are not the best, is what I want to talk about. So here we are. Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. So this is what I want to tell you. I was on Reddit and somebody made a post that was capitalism is making theremins too expensive to buy, right? And they were complaining about how musical instruments, like pretty rare musical instruments like the celeste or the hurdy-gurdy or the theremin, are just too expensive, and that's capitalism's fault for these instruments being expensive, and they should be cheap because they're a need. They should be like, you know what I mean? And no, let me say what I want to say about this. They were like, and first off, people pointed out that actually you can get a theremin very cheap. There are build your own theremin kits where like they send you a kit, you can build it, and like you can get it for like $50 or something. There's like a pretty cheap kit you can buy. But they were like, why are theremins so expensive? Why are like Celeste so expensive, or hurdy-gurdy is so expensive? You can also get a really cheap hurdy-gurdy. I mean, they're still kind of expensive, but you can get a relatively cheap hurdy-gurdy. And the thing is, people are like, yeah, capitalism, it's capitalism that these things are so expensive. And actually, that's not the case, I want to say, for this moment, right? All the things they're talking about are things that are still being produced in a pre-capitalist way. What I mean by that is, see, Hawkeye knows where I'm going. Did these people look into how much they cost to make, including labor? No. No. But this is, I've seen more hurdy-gurdies in the last year or so than ever before, right? So Hawkeye, this is where I wanted to get for a moment, right? And I think this is the thing that I think people are missing. So we live in consumer capitalism. So also mass consumer capitalism. And when Marx was talking about capitalism, one of the things he really thought was very foundational to capitalism is the alienation of labor. And what that means is that we can think, especially when we think about this in the modern day, what that means is that we buy things, and this is not what he meant, but I'm going to sort of like, I'm extrapolating from what he was talking about. Oh, this is one of those markets equals cap. Yes, Krellin, it is. This is one of those markets equal capitalism, but markets are capitalism. Yes, this is also one of those things. But it's also that the way that they're thinking is actually the product of capitalism, right? They think they're being anti-capitalist, but they're not. So one of the things that Marx talked about, and like we can say a lot of things because Marx was writing in the 19th century, right? But one of the things he talked about is that what capitalism does is it alienates you from your labor. And he's talking about the worker, where like the worker builds things and never sees what happens to them. But I'm going to point out the flip side, which is that we buy things, but we never see who makes them, right? So there's like this alienation of the product from the labor that it takes to make it. So we buy things, but we don't ever think about the people who make it. And partly this also, and what this does, right, is, so if they're like, oh, things are too expensive, that's capitalism. But actually, one of the things that capitalism does is it drives prices downwards by exploiting labor. And it's easier to exploit labor because we're alienated from it. So we don't think about who's making our products. We just want it to be cheap. I always wonder how many of these people have ever read the Communist Manifesto. I think most of them have not. Actually, Hawk, I think most of them have not actually read it. Or even, I don't think they certainly have not read Marx's Das Kapital, right? So one of the things about the current sort of state of mass consumer capitalism is that we have a lot of depressed prices, right? We've sort of redone a lot of products to be done in sweatshops in third world countries by mechanism or AI. So there are a lot of these things that we're getting at depressed prices because of exploitation. And so we think that non-capitalist prices are these really cheap prices. But actually, those are capitalist prices. So then we say, oh, those expensive prices, those are capitalist prices. But many of the things that people are talking about, in this case, a hurdy-gurdy or whatever, are not being built under mass consumer capitalism, are still being built, because not everything is being built within that model. Some things are still being built in the artisan pre-mass capitalism model. And the kind of instruments that they're complaining about being too expensive because of capitalism are expensive because they're pre-capitalism, right? They're expensive because they're being made by artisans by hand, and they cannot be mechanized in that way. Like, there's a reason why a number of these things they complain about being too expensive are that expensive, because they have to be made by hand, by people, and it takes months to do it, right? And so I was just thinking about this with my banjo. This MIDI banjo, right? And this MIDI banjo, I'm going to tell you, is expensive. Like, it is an expensive banjo. Like, it's a little like, ooh, like for me, it's a little bit expensive. But it's not capitalism's fault that it's expensive. When I put in the order, I was like, yeah, I'd like to get this banjo. And then I got a phone call 2 days later from the person who owns the company. Because that person who owns the company is also the banjo maker. He himself, Tom Neckville, builds the banjos himself in his workshop. And he's been experimenting with banjo design since the 1980s, but he's been building longer than that. So this is an individual person who's got 60 years of experience building banjos by hand, by himself. And he did an apprenticeship, and he learned how to build banjos from a banjo maker before him. Right, so he sits there, and it takes him 6 months to build a banjo. And he called me on the phone, and he's like, what wood would you like me to use? And I was like, well, I like a really dark sound in a banjo. Like, I don't like it super, super bright in a very, like, bluegrass way. I like it darker. He's like, okay, so you're going to want a mahogany versus a spruce or a walnut might be okay, but you probably don't want an oak. And I was like, great. And he's like, okay, what kind of spacing do you want? How do you want, like, all these, and when I told him, I said, well, I really want this MIDI banjo that you don't make anymore. He says, okay, well, we don't make it anymore because I wasn't satisfied with how the electronics are working. But if you want this other kind of, if you want like a solid body with passive pickups rather than active, I might be able to experiment and build that for you, right? So what's happening is that I'm interacting with him, an actual human being who's going to spend the next 6 months of his life building this banjo for me, to the way that I specify based on his 5 decades of personal experience with woods that are hard to get. He's not going to make a lot of money off of this banjo, by the way. Like, he's not, like, the markup's not pretty big. He can't really mark it up in a way to make a lot of money because nobody wants expensive things and they don't want to pay for labor, right? But I'm paying for his labor, his expertise, his time, his innovation, his ideas, the lineage that he's gone through. What I'm doing is what I would have done if I were in the 1600s and wanted a lute made, right? If you go before mass capitalism, people went to makers and they went to their blacksmith, they got their armor made, or they went to, like, you know what I mean? And most people who were not wealthy just couldn't do that. So in the past, you just couldn't actually get a harpsichord made unless you were an aristocrat. Like that, you know, that's basically it. Pre-capitalism, your average, first, we didn't really have a middle class, but like your average person is just not going to get, they're not going to be able to afford a harpsichord. They're just not going to get one. That's it, right? But if you are going to get a harpsichord made, you're going to get it made to you, for you, individually. And by the way, Tom Neckville is going to service my banjo for the rest of my life after he makes it. And yeah, Vulpes, I am patronizing an artist, right? And yeah, it's artisanal, right? Vulpes says, this goes hand in hand with the disgusting talk on how the minimum wage is bad for workers. I was reading earlier. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Carl says, under socialism, things would be probably slightly more expensive than they are, except for specialty items that are all still like handcrafted and stuff. Yep. But people would also be better compensated for their work and able to afford those higher prices. Right. Yes. Right. The artisanal stuff artisanal stuff is going to be expensive because, well, artisanal stuff will not be expensive if you exploit labor. Right. And that's the thing. And when I was talking, like, I remember thinking, oh, this is gonna be expensive. And when I was talking to him, the person who's actually making the banjo, right? There is no alienation between the maker, between him and I. There's no like curtain in between us. I'm talking to him. And do I want to tell him that I just want to pay like $300 for an instrument that he's going to spend 6 months on that is the product of all of his expertise and time and effort and really wanting to make this really good and not like some cheap thing that he can just knock up, but really make this thing? Do I want to tell him that I think that he's only worth $300 and that he's going to have to lose a lot of money to make it for me? I could, like, that would make me a jerk. Do you know what I mean? Like, that would make me like a jerk. Well, it's not impossible. It's a lot harder to exploit labor when you're dealing directly with the labor. Yes, that's exactly right. And so what I think has happened, or what I've noticed, is that there are people who think they're being anti-capitalist by saying that I should be able to get things for free or cheap. They don't say what, and this, by the way, this is tied into that whole AI art conversation. There are those people who are like, a blow against capitalism is using AI art because art's too expensive and we shouldn't have to pay for art. Art should just be completely free. And so that is anti-capitalism. And I was like, how is that anti-capitalism? What you're advocating is exploitation of labor, and that is not anti-capitalism, right? So I think that there's a way in which the alienation of labor has encouraged some people to think that it is anti-capitalist to exploit labor that they don't ever interface with. And it's not. Yeah, that's not being capitalist. It's being a cheapskate. Yeah. Yes. And I think that Krellin has really sort of hit the nail, right? It's not that you have to pay to have somebody, an artist, make a banjo or like Hawkeye's amazing GM screens are all done by hand, right? That's the problem, is that capitalism doesn't want to pay people, right? That's the problem, which is what sort of Krellin was talking about. Capitalism wants you to work and pay you as little as possible. That's the exploitation part. So the answer is not, oh, I shouldn't have to pay for art. The answer is we should all get paid better so that we can then afford the art, right? So the kind of consumer mass production, consumer capitalism that we're living under right now is trying to convince us that the problem is that things are too expensive when the problem is we're not getting paid for our work. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I was just thinking about that quite a bit. I was thinking about how my analogy is a lot of people have gotten used to fast fashion where you can buy a suit for like $20. And then they say, well, paying $200 for a suit, that's capitalism exploitation. No. The only reason why you got that suit for $20 is because they're employing 5-year-olds in a country that we've colonized and are abusing, and they have no safety like standards, and they're dying in a factory so that I can have a $20 suit made with the worst materials that's going to fall apart in a month, and then I have to buy a new one. Like, hold on, right? Like, it's not, the $20 suit is not the anti-capitalist move. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I want to pay $200 for a suit, but I also want that suit to last the rest of my life, right? But capitalism does not. It's not in like modern mass consumption capitalism. It's not in their best interest for suits to last the rest of your life. It's in their best interest for you to throw it away after a month and then get a new one, right? So I feel like sometimes people are tricked into looking at the wrong problem, right? The problem is not the hurdy-gurdy is expensive. The problem is that you're not getting paid well. Boom. That's what I wanted to say. Hawkeye says, speaking of which, I hope to finish my first Etsy order tonight. Oh! You know, Hawkeye is like a really great example. Hawkeye makes these amazing, and I don't think you can see it because it's right over there. Hawkeye makes these amazing GM screens, these custom-made GM screens. And Hawkeye spends time and effort to make them. Hawkeye has tools that he has bought to make them, makes them by hand. He goes and he gets the materials himself, and he builds them. And when he makes them, he thinks about who the person is who asked him to make it, right? The amount of care and attention to detail and just real heart that Hawkeye puts into those GM screens is really touching. And he's also been innovating design and thinking, how can I make this better? Not how can I make this cheaper, but how can I make it better? Maybe I can put a monitor in there. Like, how can I make sure that you can actually get, a power supply in? Like, Hawkeye's doing extra work, and it takes time. And I think that Hawkeye should be compensated for his labor. I don't want Hawkeye exploited. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what economic system we're under. Hawkeye should be compensated for his labor, his expertise, his time, his care, him talking to me to have a conversation. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? And that's not, it doesn't, people matter. People who do things matter. And it's not capitalist to care about people who do things. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. You know how old Soviet equipment still works? That social, yeah, it's true. Time study, research, people assign. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of work that and care. And I think for me, one of the things is it's the care that goes into it. Do you know what I mean? And this is my experience having been given a gift of a GM screen from Hawkeye. When I look at that GM screen, I think this was made for me. And this was made by somebody who paid attention to Kolos and really, like, it's very special to me, right? It isn't actually a mass-produced item that is just for anyone and nobody cares if it lasts too long. And actually, okay, hold on. People, you probably don't want it to last too long, right? This is actually something really special, and I think that it's important to acknowledge and honor that. And it's not capitalist to say that. It's not capitalist to say that people who work and craft and teach and create and all that kind of stuff, build, clean, all that stuff, that they should be they should be compensated for their labor. Yeah, Time of Gift says, when I was growing up, we had Edwardian home appliances still in working order. That's imperialism, a kitchen and a utility room on which the sun never set. Yeah. And so I think, so anyway, I just think that sometimes people they're tricked into attacking the wrong thing. You know, that's what I want to say. They're attacking the wrong thing. They're thinking that the problem is this, when actually it's that other thing. Yeah. Yeah, one of the most capitalistic features of modern life is disposability. Yes. And not only are the things themselves disposable, but the people who make them are disposable. Right? That becomes part of the ideology, is that the people themselves are disposable. And, like, that's messed up. That's messed up. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, I was just a little bit frustrated because what I like, these rusty gears used to turn the whole machine. The building before you housed the engine. It must have been a big one. This, I think, is actually I think this was. See, I've got a map. Let me see if I can find it and I can show you. Here. Do you see that that big Ferris wheel? I think this must have been the engine for the Ferris wheel, maybe? I'm thinking. It's my feeling on what that probably was. Like I'm thinking. Yeah, and I think, and that's the whole purpose of the idea of alienation, right? What alienation does is it dehumanizes people, and it dehumanizes yourself. The chain trails off into the ocean to who knows where. And I think that what we have to fight against is dehumanization and alienation, right? This barrel has been recently discarded. Also, I will just note that dehumanization is also not unique to capitalism. There's a lot of dehumanization under feudalism as well. Just, you know what I mean? That's all. That's all I'm saying. But disposability is pretty. I feel like disposability is pretty.
An old door, worn by elements, guards the depot.
Modern.
The wind has blown a sand dune in front of it. The door hasn't been opened in a long while. Oh. You see a handle.
What is this thing anyway?
It's military. A service depot of some sort.
Used to service what?
The washerwoman mentioned a depot up the coast. She said it was for moving ammo and cargo across the bay. This might be it.
So you need a 20, and I cannot get that. So that is currently an impossible roll for me, unless I hit a 12. So we're going to walk away for the moment, because I think we can maybe build up our interfacing later, especially since you can only open it once. Let's Anyway, it just makes me a little sad when people think they're being progressive, but they're actually not being progressive. They're internalizing, ooh, internalizing a model that is, that furthers their own exploitation. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually not great for them. That's all I'm saying. What do I have in my hands? All right, we just got a polo shirt, a white polo shirt. What does it do? Gives us +1 rhetoric, but -1 empathy. Interesting. Okay. Y'all, we are currently researching 2 different thoughts. The wasteland of reality. Oh, so we're at a we're not doing very well with our physical instrument. We're at -2 for the moment. And then also -1 with our reaction speed. Oh, we're not in the best spot, huh? I think we're somewhat distracted. That's okay. By thoughts, which is a very trooper thing, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think feudalism thought people were disposable, easily replaceable. It did sometimes think the cost of people was less than the cost of land prestige. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I also suppose the mechanism of war involved a lot of disposability, but that's... Oh, I like the sounds. Slightly different. Hey, how's my sound, by the way? How's it doing? How's our snap, crackling, and popping? Someone's made a campfire here a long time ago. A rusted, broken control box for the radio relay tower. They're still hanging out with me? Seriously? I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this tonight. Later. That is very disappointing. I'm going to, It's all the snapping I did. They think they belong there? That makes sense. I think what I'll do is go back and listen to the VOD and see what I can do about it. The ladder is too rusty to climb. The sea air has eaten away at it. This is, again, very, the writing's very good. Oh, a tie. A scented scarf. +1 shivers. -2 physical instrument. We cannot do that. This light springtime scarf smells like men's cologne mixed with cheap laundry detergent. Someone must have left it behind, probably from a date. Wear it if you want to delude yourself that spring has arrived. This shirt, the polo shirt, looks worn and smells a bit. You can't help but wonder, who would have left it stuffed in a tear container? What kind of man would even wear a polo shirt? This might be one of life's mysteries that will never be solved. Tiny inlets there, off in the distance, where the posts trail toward. Something quite melancholy about this. I don't know about art cops, but I like happy little trees. By the way, I'm sorry that my sound is being weird. I wonder if it's my interface. I'm gonna just check, I'll have to check. Ooh. The boardwalk rises to my south. It casts its long shadow over me. I'm gonna just check to see if my firmware is all updated. I'll go and do a good checking it out. I certainly hope it's not too bad for you all. I hope not, at least. Those are my thoughts. I don't know much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about science books. Don't know much about the French I took. Am I winning? Maybe. Perhaps. Possible. So, that's a good song, by the way. You just watched a couple of episodes of All in the Family. Oh wow, that's that's Norman Lear, right? At his most really wanting to deal with and think about social issues. Yeah, yeah. He did a lot of really interesting things, our Norman Lear. Also, there's some field electrical. Necessity driven architectural design at its finest. Well, there's some people here. We should talk to them.
And Mikhail noticed the windows, especially with how there are no windows on the south side. This was to deal with.
Yeah, I know. My mic is scratchy. I've been like trying to figure out what's going on with it. It's a very strange thing that is somewhat frustrating. I've been trying to fix it. I'm going to put a pad in and see if that does anything. The second episode I watched tonight had Robert Guillaume on as a doctor for the episode. Oh, don't apologize at all, Max. For some reason, my sound is being weird today, and I don't know why. And I'm glad you're telling me so that I can try to fix it before we get to. Oh, it makes it worse? I was trying out a pad that would like reduce the sound a bit. How is that? I just took it off. Let me know. Yeah, I don't know. What I can do is reduce the gain a little bit more and see if that's going to give us somewhere. Let me know about that. Yeah, okay, thank you. Give it, we're just doing a little bit of experiment to try to get it to be functioning. It's about the same. So, hey, Valtiel. Yeah, there's almost nothing coming in here, but I'm at like minus 25 dB, so I don't think I'm overblowing I'm not peaking, is what I'm trying to tell you. So if we're getting snap, crackling, and popping, it's not because I'm peaking, because I'm coming in pretty low, so it's not that. We're gonna sort of ponder it. I should be back. We'll see. We'll see. Let me know if it's better or if it's still scratchy and terrible, because I'm going to go and fix this. I will find out what it is. I will, but I need to know that it's causing trouble so I can try to figure it. You know what I mean? Hold on a second. Just check something. Just scratches occasionally. I don't like it. Don't like it. Test something. Let me just check something. Mm, mm, mm. Hmm. Hmm. You know what? I have some thoughts going on over here as well. I'm going to do this because I feel like that's interesting. I'm turning my mic in a different location. Worse? So right now, keeping us about here. Tell me how we're feeling. I'm pretty limited at the moment. Like, uh, hmm. Hey, Tap Shell, how you doing? Okay, so my voice is kind of coming and going. Okay, okay. One moment. Let me think about this. Hold on. Okay, so that might be okay. I did a whole stream of tabletop game and didn't realize I had sound off on OBS. Oh no, lost everything. Of course, no one was watching, so I didn't know until after. Oh, the worst. Uh, just let me know if things are. That sounds better. Okay. Look, it's. I will tell you, it's a little bit hard to sort of do sound correction when I'm not hearing my voice. So I'm just what I'm trying to do is like, okay, if it's sounding like this, these are the possible uh, culprits, and let me see if I can fix them without hearing what it sounds like. So that should be good. Okay. So normally when I'm doing sound, you have to listen to it. You have to listen to what it says so you can then actually sculpt it and shape it. So, but what I'm doing is I'm doing this by hand. If that makes any sense, like I'm doing it without audio, which good on me that I have enough experience with audio that I can at least approximate how to make it sound better, even if I can't hear it. I'll refine it later. I'll refine it later. I mean, look, uh, I did actually study sound engineering as an undergraduate. That doesn't make me a professional, although I did actually also work as a sound engineer the summer after I graduated. So I mean, I have some experience. I'm not like it is old, and I'm not an expert, but I have some experience with it. Is it really? I think it's that's very very strange. Yeah, I'm going to do some experiments after stream today. I'm going to experiment a little bit and try to figure out what it is. I'm going to go into the VOD, listen to it, see what's going on, see what we can do. I'm hoping I can get this resolved for tomorrow. It seems to my IT ear the sort of thing that you get with a bad cable or port. This is what I'm thinking, right? Because normally when you get these problems, it's because of peaking, that like this sounds too hot. But I'm coming in pretty low, so I don't think it's because the sound's too hot. I think it might be a bad cable. I'm thinking it's either a bad cable or the firmware of my audio interface needs to be updated. This is what I'm thinking. Like I'm thinking it's like a firmware situation. So I'm gonna check cables and I'm gonna check firmware. Like it's like uh, it's the kind of thing that you will need to unplug and replug things in for. Is what it is. Speaking of, oh, hold on. Guess what? Guess what? I'm just, I'm subtly while we're chatting, checking things out, and it looks like there is a firmware update available. So this thing needs a firmware update, is what that is. But I do not think I can update it without restarting the computer. So if it's not too bad, I will have to just sort of deal with this. And once we get offline, I will update things if it's okay. But firmware update, it's so odd, really, Anyhow, so, but by the way, I really want to thank you for like having this conversation with me about my audio because it's one of the best way to find out when things are happening so we can update things and work things out. And I appreciate it very much. And I also like some of the things I've done anyway, but nonetheless. So we have a blonde man stands next to his son, pointing to the weather-worn ruins. He sees me approaching and smiles. Max, as I always try to let streamers know what's going on, Max, I appreciate that. I think of us as being part of a community, right? Like I'm always happy to have people tell me things and to share because it's like helping out a pal. You know what I mean? And now the workday is done. Most are cool about it. I've had a very few who get upset. Yeah, no, I appreciate it too. And here's the thing: if I ever get frustrated, which it's not easy for me to do, I'm not frustrated that people are telling me. I'm frustrated that I haven't fixed it, right? But now I know what it is. It's a firmware problem. I'm gonna fix that. Oh, sorry. I just have cool things to share later. Nope. Yeah, and also, and there are also certain things that I can't tell, right? So, for example, the audio that I get is not the same audio that you get. They're routed differently. So, mostly because I want slightly different volume levels than you have. So, and I'm going to balance things differently, right? For example, since I'm not hearing myself, the video game audio is a little bit louder for me than it is for you. So, I need you to let me know if it's too loud or too soft for you because I'm hearing a different level, right? And like it's like a if we're in a car, it's like, oh, could you turn up the radio? Like that's for me, that's what it is, right? It's nice. That's what I think. Um, there was something I wanted to tell you. There's another thing. Yeah, nothing I want to tell you.
You officers, come to investigate the historic subtext of West Martinez? I'm Tran Heilostam. You must be Kim Kisuragi, right? I was just telling my son about this building. Not a lot of people realize the historic significance here. Very rich in hypertext.
He knows Kim. Who is this guy? Why does he know Kim? What's going on?
Nice to meet you.
I personally know what hypertext is. I don't know if Harry knows what hypertext is. Uh, Hold on. Hypertext?
Yes, hypertext. Young Carp and the collection of cultural hyperlinks.
Wait, what was that about the windows before?
Oh, yes. So, Mikhail, they had to deal with monitor glare, especially in the summer. They still had vector monitors back then. That was 49 years ago. So they didn't have windows on the south wall.
Max Rider, is it the firmware? Viewers, they have things to share. Audio problems. A haiku. I love a good haiku. Layout's always a problem. Makes me sad. You and Kim know each other?
No, I can't say that we've met before, but I've heard of Kim, of course. Mikhail, say hi to the officers.
He rests his hand on the boy's shoulder. The child stays hidden behind the hem of his father's coat, clutching to his worm-themed coloring book.
Mikhail's a little tired today. We spent all night trying to run Orbis on his radio computer. Have you heard of it? It's a programming language used in Grad. Quite tricky, but he wanted to play this Grad-made adventure program. We've been getting really into Worms lately.
Dragons. It looks like the building was zapped, right? It looks really interesting because you can see. Side note, I just want to acknowledge and give some ups to the amount of detail that's in the artwork in this game, right? Like, it's very non-generic. Have you ever played a first or third person shooter where you are going through a warehouse and there are a lot of crates? And maybe also not a warehouse and there's still a lot of crates. And the whole thing looks generic. It looks like it could have been any other video game that's like that you've played. And maybe they spice it up by throwing like some tin cans around. Um, but this has got such a level of specificity to the tagging, right? To the little details. It's very, very well done. This crate has toys in it. Yeah, right. So like I really appreciate the amount of detail.
A man speaks in the artificial cadence of a professor, or someone who's been on too many radio shows.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I assume you're not here for giant worms when there are so many real things to see. Just as I was telling Mikhail before, this is where the Coalition landed in '08. We could be standing on what is the most interesting landmark in Revachol West.
He points to the building again. Yeah, I'm not really excited that the Coalition invaded us, though. Anyway, I'm not going to say that out loud. This crate has toys in it. Roller, I'm just thinking about when you're playing a video game and you're just like, okay. A room full of chest-high walls. Yeah, right? And the thing is, I understand that if you're under a lot of pressure, but this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? If you're under a lot of pressure to just make things, but you're alienated from the work, they're just like, make corridors, and you just make corridor textures. Go, 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 go. And like you don't get to be part of the process, then things don't have that. Right? Yeah. Yeah. We're in a I don't know why I'm in this conversation space today, but that's the conversation space that it happened in. You know.
This man is your half brother. You feel it. But why?
Yeah, why?
Well, get a load of this guy. He really enjoys his trivia.
Yeah?
The Orbis programming language was named after its inventor, Victor Orbis, a cybernetician from Grad. They run Vox in the Occidental countries.
What's so fascinating about an empty old building?
Aha! But it's not just any empty old building.
He raises his hand to his eyes, springtime sun warming his handsome face. All four of you turn to admire the mural before you. What is he doing here?
What not a lot of people know is this used to be the R&D department of Felt Electrical, and Felt, which now sells ink cartridges mostly, was once a top dog in the turn-of-the-century cybernetics boom.
So here's the thing that I think is very interesting about this world, which, by the way, was an RPG campaign originally before they turned it into all of this, is that the time frame is so unclear. All right, so I'm going to talk GURPS for a moment. Not my fault. It's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. You have to suffer. So you know how GURPS, Traveler, I'm sure other RPGs have tech levels, right? So GURPS is a tech level. Tech level 0 is the Ice Age. Tech level 1 is like the Iron Age. Tech level 2 is like the Bronze Age. Ancient Rome is tech level 2. Tech level 3 is medieval. Tech level 4 is Renaissance. Tech level 5. Right? So like we are in tech level 8, et cetera, et cetera. Disco Cthulhu. And what's interesting is, so you've got these tech levels, right? And big spanning, because you have multiple tech levels in Traveler, they have it too. So you've got these tech levels. But here's what's interesting to me. Because GURPS is what it is what it is, they have this section to talk about alternative technology and that you can describe things using this tech level in more subtle ways. So, for example, let's say that we are in tech level 8. That's where we're at. Tech level 8 is where we're at. I could say we're in tech level 8, which means we're here. I could also say that we're in tech level 2+6. What does that mean? Well, that means that the society and the way that we like it's the Roman Empire, but they have gotten advanced technology through some alternative means, and it could be magic, right? All like we have like planes and we have computers, but it's through magic. A lot of steampunk would be like tech level 6+1 or something, or 6+2, where the level of technology is the same until it splits and it like advances through some other kinds of fantastical means. And this feels to me like it's a kind of one of these split tech level societies where they have computers, but the computers are based off of radio waves. So it feels like at some point in time, when I'm not certain, when did their timeline diverge and their technology sort of maybe the 40s, 20s. It feels like the tech level diverged sometime in the 20th century because it doesn't feel like it's so divergent. Like 2 plus 6 is really different than tech level 8. 7 plus 1 is not that different from tech level 8. If you see what I'm saying, do you know what I mean? Yeah, as if they were all made by Tesla. Yes, yes, that feels. No, Nikola Tesla. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Right. Curlin says, I remember the fastest Star Trek game broke down society into multiple categories. So society could be like way more advanced than the Federation in cloning and medical tech, but not have warp drives and things like that. Yes. Um, but that's also slightly different because you can do that like in GURPS and Traveler as well. Like, oh, tech level 5 with medicine, but tech level 3 in this, right? You can do that. But when you're talking about alternate tech lines, this feels to me like maybe a 7 plus 1 or a 6 plus 2. 7 plus 1 maybe. And like if it's only that's a very that means it feels very close to us, but the differences are quite subtle, right? I remember that. Love that game. FASA, I actually do I have it? FASA made some good games. Side note, everybody, and it might be because I have chocolate milk that I'm drinking. But I'm feeling really good about us today as a community. Just thought I'd let you know. You own everything that FASA ever made for Star Trek? Oh, interesting. Did you ever play Prime Directive?
Hold on. What's R&D?
It's research and development. Come on, Encyclopedia. Starbeam. Oh, all the Star. Oh, I remember those. Was it Stardate? I remember those magazines. Wait. I'm gonna look over at the building looming over me.
It looks old and weathered, with seagulls picking apart its stone and metal carcass. Bushy undergrowth has taken hold of the collapsed rooftop. Some kind of bird has set up a nest on a broken windowsill.
I've yet to play Prime Directive. I have the original game and the GURPS stuff. Yeah, because GURPS did that GURPS translation of Prime Directive, which I actually have. Oh, there it is. Good size. Role playing in the Starfleet universe. Nope. Stop it. Brain. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. I need to read and run a few games to review them. I wasn't as big a fan of the Starfleet universe background from Starfleet Battles. I love that FASA took the old spaceflight chronology and ran with it. My understanding about Prime Directive, please, if people have more details, is that they asked for the license to make an RPG back when Star Trek was just not going anywhere. Like it was not. Flying Buffalo? Anyway, when nobody wanted Star Trek for anything, and so they got this like super permanent or long term or like super intense license where they're able to do it. And then once Star Trek picked up again, Paramount's like, we don't think we want you to have this, but they actually still have the right to do the Prime Directive stuff. So, yeah, Starfleet Battles was during the late 70s, early days. Yeah. Wait, what's an R&D department?
Apologies, it's an acronym for research and development. They don't use it anymore.
He smiles brightly, laugh lines around his eyes. Who are you?
You're probably more familiar with RTD, research and technological development.
Right, absolutely.
Mea culpa. You are not familiar with that one either. This man is a bookhead.
Yes, it was a chit-style war game practically. Yes, that's right. Speaking of war games and miniatures, right? Like we had been talking at some point in time on the Discord about the ways in which Warhammer really helped revolutionize miniature war games. and make it quite different from the kinds of miniature war games that had gone before, uh, in ways that really helped revolutionize that hobby until they get chased by a rogue AI. But I was also thinking about uh, Fantasy Flight Games and what they did with X-Wing. X-Wing? Was that what it was called? The one where they had the little X-Wings and TIE fighters on little sticks, and they had sort of really did like skirmish miniature space stuff not that long ago, only a couple years ago, in a way that really got people very, very excited and seemed to be a new, more accessible way into the hobby. Not the video game, the actual physical, not the video game. The maybe it wasn't called X-Wing. Imperial Assault? No, that wasn't it. It was X-Wing. Oh, thank you, Zanzibar. Like, and it seemed to me like that was I only played it once. It was pretty cool, but it seemed to really do some cool things. That was much later. That was built on the Ace of Aces game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were thinking Star Warriors. That was a tabletop game by West. I liked West End Games when they were doing Star Wars D6. Oh yeah, that was good. They also did Armada, which was the largest. And I knew people who really liked Armada too. It's sort of sad that Fantasy Flight Games has been kind of ripped apart into pieces by Asmodee, whoever took it over. I don't think I've ever heard of this Feld Electric.
That's not surprising. Only a vestigial ink cartridge and ferrotape manufacturer remains.
He adjusts his suit jacket.
They started out as a midway electronics outfit in Königstein 2 centuries ago. After an aggressive move to Revachol, Feld became a global player in the emerging personal electronics market of the pre-revolutionary era.
So if they started out as a midway electronics outfit in Königstein 2 centuries, that's 200 years ago. And in our timeline, we're not really getting electricity until the end of the 18th century, really. But that sounds like we must be at least in like the 2100s if we want to make an equivalent to our timeline. 2100s, maybe 2200. But yet, there's clearly like a very 1950s vibe to this place, but the 1950s were in the recent past. Like, it's got a very interesting, like, the timeline is not one that we have, and it's really fascinating. I really like this kind of interesting mix of this sense that this is somehow futuristic, but also in a past. That's really interesting to me.
Still, Tricentennial was beating them in business machines. But Feld had an ace up their sleeve, or should I say, they were developing an ace up their sleeve. I'm mixing my metaphors here.
What was that ace?
It was here in Martinez, possibly in this very building, that they developed prototypes for a tape computer.
That feels like the 1940s or 50s, which would have been like 200 years ago, right? So it feels like we're in 2150, 2170. So we're in the future, but a future that is not full of like hyper technology. Do you know what I'm saying?
An elegant folding mechanism of rollers and ferrotape ribbons, portable enough to be a take-it-home solution. Revolutionizing business machines, possibly even bring them to the average consumer.
Okay, I've got a thought for you all. I want your thoughts as well. I want you to bring it back to me. I don't own the books. I've seen some of the art like online. You know, Tales from the Loop. Those all based on that art by that Swedish artist who gives you like images from the 80s that have like mecha in them, things like that, and like weird futuristic technology, but the world itself is not futuristic. Or maybe that board game. What's that board game that everybody likes? That's very like 1950s Soviet Union, but like with mecha and futuristic robots. No, not Dust. It's one of these big, heavy board games that like it's pretty. Uh, That's what. Thank you, Vulpes. Scythe, 1918 with mechs. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Scythe. Vulpes knew what I was talking about. Yes. So it feels to me kind of like that, where the timeline feels like it's in the past, but it clearly has got some sort of advanced technologies. And this one feels like it's technically the future, but it's not. Do you know what I'm saying?
Which is a feat of engineering even today's giants, Rehm, Icyan, and Zam, haven't achieved yet.
He grins, admiring the sentence he just produced. So we're never gonna get it. Never gonna get it, 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 never get it. Because they had this terrible falling out and it was like sold to like a what do they call them? Corporate raider, all that kind of stuff. Uh, but I would have loved to have an RPG setting book for this world. Like I really, really would have. Because I would love to see how that original group of anarchist punk rockers, what all they built in this space. I would really love that. Oh, what's the frequency, Kenneth?
He assumes something like a combat stance, facing the wind.
What happened?
Indeed. What?
The revolution!
The boy wipes his nose on his sleeve. It feels like the timeline that diverged somewhere in the 70s, 80s. Yeah, right? It does. And of course, what's interesting is that clearly this is an entirely different world. Like the uh, continents and countries and the geography is clearly, we are not on Earth, right? That's the thing that is very clear to me, that we're not on Earth. And I think that's really interesting. But yeah, every time an RPG comes out for something I already love, Cowboy Bebop, Discworld, Star Trek, I want it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, their moonshot project never made it to the market. Feld's move to Revachol backfired. The revolutionary government liquefied their assets and expropriated those very advanced prototypes, possibly from this very building, or one of the adjacent ruins.
He pauses, pointing to the other building, then continues. Okay, so Moonshot. Have we made it to the moon in this world? Did our timeline diverge sometime in the 40s? Ish.
All of this was built by Feld, even the boardwalk. Wild Pines built Martinez proper as a resort for their middle management. Feld built this side of town for R&D.
Huh. You're saying that Feld Electrical built this boardwalk?
Yes, they even built a pleasure wheel, but that got destroyed in the war.
A pleasure wheel?
The lieutenant looks wistfully at the horizon as if picturing gondolas rising to the sky.
Perhaps reminded of a childhood memory. It's clear he would prefer there were a big wheel lighting up the coast.
Play Iron Harvest. It gives basically the world of Scythe without actually being one of their games, which are really basically Euro games, having very little to do with the artwork as a video game. Oh. Okay. I have to write this down. Drop it in Discord.
Yes, to lure in their star engineers. This part of Martinez was nothing but reeds before Feld arrived. They had to make the prospect of living here attractive. It was supposed to become a global center for innovation in cybernetics. But history had other plans.
Thank you, Vulpes. Hey, I don't know where you all I know where some of you live, but I don't know where all of you live. I would like to know what your relationship is, your hometown, wherever you're at, to historical theme parks. So you know how in the turn of the last century, there was a bit of a like 1880s, 90s, aughts, teens, 20s, a bit of a boom for like amusement parks. And in San Francisco, we had one out on the outer Richmond, which is where I lived. I lived in, yeah. And it was called, in Europe, a lot of them are called Luna Parks, or they were in the 20s. But we had one, it was the Sutro Baths. It was like a bathhouse where the water was actually the Pacific Ocean. and they'd had like this is all like turn of the century, right? And they'd like found ways to heat the ocean water so that you could have like heated baths and also cold baths. And then we had it was called Funland, and then we had this like this amusement park that was out there. And of course, it was all before I was born. I think it was all closed by the time we hit the 60s or something. And I think the Sutro baths were destroyed in a fire or an earthquake, maybe ish, ish, ish. But we still had the. It's no longer there because they moved it to. So tourists would never go out to that place, the where the Sutro baths were. Uh, that's not where they would go to the inside of San Francisco, the inner part where Pier 39 is, and there's like an arcade, and it was like a very touristy part on the inside of the bay. The outside of the bay, not so touristy. Um, but the old Funland had a an arcade in the 1890s, right? And it was one of those Nickelodeon arcades where you could like put in a little nickel and you'd like crank the wheel and you'd look in the thing and you'd see like a horse moving, right? Or the weird fortune teller, or like take a penny and you crush it. Like all those like kind of really strange and exciting arcade things from the 19 teens. And going back to the idea of disposability, all those machines still worked. They had saved them, and they when the theme park was destroyed, all those things still existed. And so there was at the Cliff House, they called it. They had the Museum Mécanique, and it was this arcade where you could play all of these old 19 teens machines. They were very cool. And then they also brought in video game arcades as well, like modern 1980s video game arcades. And I remember I would go to the Cliff House and I would like play these super old machines, and they had paintings and pictures of the old Funland and Sutro baths. And I remember looking at them. It was like the Sutro baths was like they built this huge glass palace with these baths. You'd sit there and you'd like right there on the ocean. I just thought it was so cool. But it was part of like a kind of a amusement world that was long dead, right? That probably didn't really last much later than the 30s, you know? And I don't know if any of you had any of those things where you grew up, but I always thought those things were really fascinating. Cedar Point had an arcade like that when I was a kid, like physical games. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love penny presses. They make great souvenirs, right? Yeah. And I always thought those things were very analog, right? I thought they were very cool, right? So when I thought about that arcade, we'd have these really old the penny presses, and they were the ones. I'm sure you know them, right? They've like a little viewer, and they'd have uh, photographs that are like on a wheel, and you crank it so then the photographs will go into the light. So it's like a little hand cranked movie. And it's always like 10 seconds or whatever, right? But all those things I thought were really cool. And next to it, they also then had these things that are clearly from a later generation, but well before the video games. So they would have the skee ball, and they would have so they have like skee ball. Then they would have like the table hockey. Is that what we call it? Air hockey machines, pinball machines, and then of course video game machines. Zoetrope, yes, thank you. Yes, air hockey, and where did the hearts come from? Are my hearts on? My hearts are turned on. I thought I turned them off, but apparently I turned on my hearts. Sorry. I think this is one. Woo! Wait. I think this is one. Is this one? It may not be one. I think it's one. Is it one? Maybe it's not. Maybe I can't get it to go. Are you gonna go? I thought this was one. No? Yeah. Sorry, that was it. I got it. It was. Uh, I can't keep my hearts contained. Uh, our library used to have a handheld one of those viewers in the children's area when it was pretty old. Oh, yeah, it's Zoom. It's Zoom. Yeah, yeah, rock and roll. Anyway, that's the thing. You can turn it off, but I think I forgot to. Yeah. So it was, and so for me, what was so cool about it was that you would go into this arcade and you'd see the kind of arcade machines that people played with in 1910, and then like 1940, and then 1950, and then 70, 1980s. And I thought that was really neat. I really liked being able to see what amusement looked like across a century, right? And that was like, and think about disposability, those machines still worked. You know what I mean? Like they still worked. They were built really well. And of course, there were people who were um, uh, maintaining them. But I always thought that was, and I thought that was really cool. If you saw that movie Big with the kind of weird fortune teller machine, they had one of those, right? And of course, they had those like very terrible claw machines where you'd put in your quarter and you'd like use a little claw to try to pick up something, and I never got anything ever because it was like a racket. That's all. What happened to the engineers, the company people?
Oh, I'm afraid it didn't end well for the boys. But this story is a bit too dark for little Mikhail here. Now, if you were to ask about tape computers.
He smiles again as if he's somehow personally responsible for this bleak turn of events.
He means that the boys got shot by the communists. The boys were bourgeois.
I'm not going to tell this kid about being shot in the head because I feel like that's sort of rude. But tape computers, right?
Tape computers.
He nods when tussling his suit jacket. What did the revolutionaries do with those advanced tape computers?
They used them for military communications, but also to write and send out press releases. The most notorious example being Le Decret de Mars.
He says while his son looks up, idly chewing on the corners of his worm-themed coloring book. What was that?
What's the Mars Decree? I mean the radio transmission sent out to news agencies and world governments by the newly created Commune of Revachol on the 7th of March in the year 02.
A short-lived legislative foundation for a short-lived utopia.
So the Commune of Revachol reminds me a little bit of the Paris Commune, right? But that was like what, in the 1800s maybe? Right, so there's something really interesting about how they mix up the history in a way to create something very, very new.
It's a beautiful piece of text, actually. A singer-songwriter I know, Charette, called it a love poem to Revachol on her political concept album, Bon Baiser dans ce Lind. You should read it. Every local library in Revachol stocks a copy of the decree.
Oh, I probably should, yes.
I tried to get Mikhail to memorize it. Tried to. Someone was much too interested in Worms to be paying any attention.
He looks at his son, who starts giggling, his face hidden behind the book. Volpe says, "You just missed MagFest last weekend here, Trooper, an annual festival held in the Washington metropolitan area that celebrates video games and video game music, as well as their surrounding culture. Part of it is a huge retro gaming area and arcade with machines from all areas and a lot of pinball." Question, Volpez. Is MagFest in Washington State or Washington, D.C.? I'm part of a Discord that talks about video game music, and so people were talking about its existence, but of course I couldn't go. DC, yeah, bummer. How did those tape computers work? Did they work like radio computers?
Actually, no one knows. No one even knows what a computer made entirely of tape would look like. But word has it, they were very elegant, exquisite, alien-looking turn-of-the-century hardware.
He raises his finger, remembering something.
Buckle up.
10 years ago, I did a little freelancing, I guess you could say. I was a special consultant for an exhibition at the Womty Dumpty Dum Center in Vredefort, Oranje. It raised the same questions, and we had lengthy discussions with Paul Ockerman, who was head curator at the time. This was before the twins Keith and Guy Juice joined the team, trying to...
Wait, did he just say Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center?
He did.
He did it. He said Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center, like it's the most natural thing in the world.
Sounds pretty exciting to me, is what I'm going to say.
What the hell is a Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center? And who the hell are Keith and Guy Juiced?
I know, I don't know either. Okay. Wait. The Wumpty Dumpty Dump Center, Paul Ackerman, Keith and Guy Juiced. What are you talking about?
The Wumpty Dumpty Dump Center for Contemporary Art. The exhibition itself drew on Lagerman's notion of memory, and so there were some parallels. That's why the head curator, Paul Ackerman, chose to.
Come on. There's no place called the. No, where did I go to Kim? You're making this up. Kim?
In fact, I'm not. The Wumpty Dumpty Dump Center is a place you can visit if you're ever in Redefort and are ever in the market for an exhibition space / contemporary art research center.
He clears his throat. Hey, I'm an art cop. This is important.
But perhaps I should return to the tape computers. As I was saying, the device itself was very elegant, fragile even. One could write directly on the tape using a special chemical solution. The machine would then analyze the handwriting, perform operations, and project output onto a white screen. It was a beautiful, delicate thing.
Hey, people who might be old, like me. So there's an episode of The Avengers, the British spy-fi show from the 60s, called Death at Bargain Prices. And in it, the episode Death at Bargain Prices, I rang. Have to see if I can get you in touch with them, because I can see a version of your music, Museum Electros. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, also, what does MAG stand for? For magnetic? Anyway, so in the episode of The Avengers, Death at Bargain Prices, it starts off with somebody being an agent being killed, as often happens in that show. Speaking of which, and when our protagonist finds the body, he has on him a receipt from this department store with some hole punches in it, but for a department that doesn't exist. And so they have to go into the department store to investigate what's going on. But of course, what it turns out is that the receipts are actually punch cards for a computer, right? And so they actually find the computer, which is this like massive room-sized thing with all the punch cards, because of course, back then, this is like 65, 66, computers used punch cards, and they did not have RAM. Or storage. Like here, I'm like, oh man, my computer only has 2 terabytes of storage. So sad. And I'm just thinking about, like, I've got this like little tiny mini computer with 2 terabytes of a 2 terabyte hard drive, and then I've got external hard drives with 12 terabytes. And to think, like, basically, this watch has more computing power than like computers that took up entire rooms in the 1960s. That's wild. Do you ever think about that? Like, I think about that. I think about that. Music and gaming. Oh, music and gaming. Oh, that's cool. Have you seen they announced a reboot? Baltiel. Did you just say that they've announced a reboot of The Avengers? The Avengers, British spy-fi show from 1960 to 1960. Who is doing a reboot of the show? Who's doing it? Wait. No. I'm sorry. Time out. Thank you. Hold on. We do not. I'm sorry. I understand that right now I am playing this game. However, we do not get to evoke the Avengers around me and then have me not know about it and then have me just stop. Hold on. The Avengers reboot in the works at Studio Canal. Okay, that's who did it originally. Wall to Wall. Industry duo Mickey Down and Conrad K. writing. Okay, hold on. It's getting remade. Studio Canal, which owns the rights to the Avengers catalog, has been quietly plotting a reboot, and a pilot has been written. Warner Brothers Discovery production outfit Wall to Wall is co-producing. Mickey Down and Conrad K., the writing team behind the hit HBO BBC series Industry, have breathed new life into Patrick McNee's debonair secret agent, John Steed, and his glamorous sidekicks. Sex Education director Ben Taylor is also a co-creator. Taylor will direct the series and executive produce. There were rumors the project was in with HBO, but this was denied last year. It's not clear where the reboot will land. Studio Canal has declined comments. It launched in 61, ran for 6 seasons ITV and later ABC in the US, where it was the first one of the first British shows to be acquired for prime time by an American network, which is true. McNee starred as Steed, who fought off diabolical plots against the state with his trademark bowler hat and umbrella. He had a succession of high fashion assistants, played by the likes of Dana Reagan and Honor Blackman. His first partner was a dude, a doctor. They broke the ground for being Steed's equal, which is true, holding their own in brawls and delivering playful quips, also true. Known for being glamorous, surreal, and often fanciful, depends on which season we're talking about. The earlier seasons were less fanciful and less surreal, a bit more gritty. Like seasons 1 through 4 were grittier. 5 and 6, once they started selling to American market, they got more fanciful. Became an escapist romp for millions of viewers, merging the spy tropes of James Bond with sci-fi elements of Doctor Who. I will note the Avengers came out before before James Bond did. The books were already out, but the first James Bond film was after the first episode of The Avengers. The Avengers was made into a film, a not good film, in 1998 with Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman in the lead roles. It was not good. It was a notorious flop. It was savaged by the critics and failed to break even on its $60 million budget because it did not take the show seriously. And they treated the audience as if they were dumb. Since then, there have been other attempts to revisit the brand. Iron Man 3 director Shane Black revealed in 2018 that he and writing partner Fred Decker were penning a pilot for Warner Brothers. DJ Yakumama. This is serious. We have to take a little bit of a pause because this is quite serious. The Avengers is one of the most foundational influences that I had in my life. You know what I mean? Like it's a really like for me, like everybody's got various things they're really into, and that's like a really big deal for me. I can still critique it, right? But it's a big deal for me. Serious, I don't know, serious neutral. Um, like it's a really big deal for me, that show. And very meaningful. I can still critique it because I'm not a fanatic. Do you know what I mean? But like I know that show very well. And I value it very much. And I value the things that it did very well. Also, there are things that they did were kind of sketchy too. So like we can note that. Like I'm not a person that thinks it can ever change. I think things can change and evolve. And I would not want them to create an Avengers that was just a remake of the 1960s with nothing new to say. That would be very disappointing. I hate reboots and rarely care for them. Sequels, on the other hand, uh, I can enjoy a reboot. It depends on if they do it. They do it well, right? Like I actually really quite liked the reboot for Battlestar Galactica because it wasn't trying to do the original Battlestar Galactica. That was okay. I enjoyed that. A reboot can be done well. A sequel can be done well, or also not. It depends on how they do it. But the film did not make me happy. And it didn't make me happy, and I knew it was not going to make me happy when I read an interview with the writer and the director in the magazine. And what they said was this. This is what I knew was just not going to be for me. They said, oh, well, you know, the original Avengers was like full of all this sort of like will they, won't they sexual tension between Steed and Peel. And of course, American audiences can't handle that. They don't want subtlety or slow burn. So we're just going to have them kiss by the end of the movie. And I was like, what are you... American audiences were quite happy with a slow burn from Moonlighting for like 4 seasons. Like I was so upset with if there's one thing that like, and look, Series 6 of the Avengers was not particularly good. And one of the reasons why it wasn't very good was because it was pandering to an American audience, or what their imagination of American audience is, right? The idea that somehow European audiences are sophisticated, American audiences are just, I don't know what. And so then they make these things that are like not, I think we would have been fine, right? And so they did this thing, which I think really, yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about all reboots and prequels. I also really liked Rogue One. I thought that was pretty good. Anyway, I thought that they did the reboot, but I didn't think they respected the material. And worse of all for me, I think they were trying to be like progressive or whatever, but Mrs. Peel in the movie, played by Uma Thurman, was not a secret agent. She was like a doctor who like then helped out, but she was not a secret agent. And what was cool about the Avengers was that she was also a secret agent. And I just didn't like that. I didn't like that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think it actually was particularly progressive or interesting. And I thought that, yeah, she was a friendly is what it was, right? I worry a modern reboot will not have the sense of playful fun. And the other thing, and so here's the thing, other thing, Volpez, about the playful fun. I'm sorry we're taking a pause in the video game, but this really matters to me. So the other thing is this is a problem I have with the word camp and kitsch right now. People are using those terms incorrectly. So they're like, what was so great about the Avengers is that you couldn't take it seriously. It was just like campy fun that no one took seriously. I said, no, hold on. That's not true. Yes, it was fantastical, right? And yes, it was playful and it was fun. But it wasn't, haha, isn't this so bad? Isn't that so ridiculous? That wasn't what it was. It wasn't silly, right? There was a sense of playfulness, but not silliness, right? And I don't think they got the humor. Do you know what I mean? It's like when people say, oh, camp is when something's bad. You're like, no. Camp is not the same thing as bad. That's actually a misunderstanding of what camp is. If you think that camp is just bad, you don't understand camp at all. That's not what camp is, right? And I think that people have started using some of these terms and they don't actually understand because the humor in the Avengers was a little complicated. It wasn't just, isn't this so bad? Huh, no one can take this seriously. And when they had like they didn't treat the playfulness with respect. You know what I'm saying? Like the show wasn't a parody of itself. And they made it a parody of itself. And you can be playful without being a parody of yourself. And I don't think the people who made that movie really understood the humor or what was progressive about it or any of that. And please note, I'm also okay with taking something in a very different direction if what you're doing makes sense. But what they said they were doing was basically, it felt to me like they were making fun of the Avengers rather than redoing the Avengers. It did not feel to me like they actually understood the show or respected it. And so I didn't like it. Yeah. Sadly, no humor in South Park from yeah. And like, so for example, I also actually quite like the Doctor Who reboot. I mean, it's different from the Doctor Who that I grew up with, but I think it stands well on its own. Some seasons are better than others, like anything. But I like quite a few of the things. Like, it doesn't have to be. The Avengers reboot film, because they're making a new TV show apparently, Krellin. I don't think that things have to stay the same. And as a matter of fact, I think they probably shouldn't. I would be very disappointed if they basically just reused scripts from the 1960s without changing it at all, except for a couple of names, and then just reshot it shot for shot, because why would I watch that when I could just watch the original, right? If you're going to redo the Avengers, it should speak to the current moment. The thing about the Avengers, right? The thing about the Avengers is, for all of its whimsy, which it was whimsical at times and sometimes not, it was speaking about the 1960s. It was very much thinking about the fall of the British Empire, British hypernationalism and how that's kind of problematic, the tension between the past and the future. Like, it was a reflection of various things about British society that was working through. For season 5 and 6, where they were selling to an American market, those critiques got a little bit less and they got a little bit more fantastical. But there's very much they were having a conversation about 1960s Britain, post-war Britain. Like that was very much there. And if you just redo that show and it's still just about 1960s Britain, but not really, then it's not doing anything. It's not doing any cultural work. It's just weird nostalgia that has nothing to say. And I wouldn't want that. If you're going to redo it, I would want it to say something about the current moment. I would want it to reflect on. I would want it, like, that's what good sci-fi does, right? Good art says something about the current moment, and I would want it to say something about the current moment. Otherwise, why redo it? Just to make money? That's no good. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, I love Tom Baker. The Fourth Doctor is also my doctor. It stood well on its own, and then they let Moffat be. Yeah, yes, yeah. Giant scarf. I actually have a friend of mine made me a Doctor Who scarf, so I'm very honored. A Tom Baker scarf. I like the new Doctor Who up to Clara, and then I got kind of bored. Yeah, since they've made the Doctor the first Time Lord, I've kind of lost interest. Yeah. Max Rider stumbled across it on PBS in the late 70s or 80s, fell in love with it. Same. But there's a certain generation of folks who got a lot of British TV from PBS, right? And I think for me, like, I actually quite enjoyed just like Max Rider, I quite enjoyed the first couple of seasons of The New Who. And then, as Carla notes, Moffat was doing stuff. And Monty Python, Benny Hill. We also had Blake Seven, Red Dwarf, Doctor Who, of course, EastEnders. Some things I didn't watch as much, like All Creatures Great and Small, Wish Me Luck, which was really important to me as well. Good Neighbors, yeah. Baker's, yeah. Faulty Towers, Good Neighbors, Wish Me Luck was the French Resistance show that inspired me to make City of Light and Shadow. Yeah, so much, yeah. My half brother was a Whovian and liked to watch Tom Baker on PBS. Yes. So Nathan, what's his face? The guy they're bringing back. What's his face? The showrunner. Hello. Yep. I got the Doctor Who, the Fast Doctor Who RPG. What was it called? Davis. Thank you, Davis. Russell T. Davies. Yes, Russell T. Davies. So here's a thing to know. A good friend of mine that I went to grad school with is a massive Whovian, way bigger Whovian than I am. And he actually wrote on Delia Derbyshire, who did the sound for BBC Radiophonic Workshop, right? Amazing. He's done really good stuff. He's great. But he knew Russell T. Davies through fandom before Doctor Who got rebooted, right? Because there was that time when Doctor Who was just basically kind of dead for a while because the BBC didn't care. And he was really big in Whovian fandom in that sort of like fallow era, so he knew Russell T. Davies. The thing about Russell T. Davies is that Russell T. Davies was a hardcore Whovian, loved Doctor Who. Like, it was his dream to be able to reboot Doctor Who and bring it back because he loved it so much. And so he did other TV shows, he did other things, and was finally able to convince BBC to bring back Doctor Who, and it was like a passion project for him to get Doctor Who back on the air. And I think it showed, and I think it was good. I think it was good, right? I think he was the right person to bring the show back. I was very happy with that. It was not Stephen Moffat's dream to do Doctor Who. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know? Are you being served? Yeah. So I suppose what I'm saying is that I'm actually fine with redos, reboots, prequels, sequels, if you're doing it because you have something to say rather than because you think it's a cheap way to make money. If you're just like, I feel that way about a lot of things. Like, I am less excited about revivals of musicals on Broadway from the 1950s if you don't do anything with them. Why redo that musical over and over again if you don't have anything new to say? Why would you do that? You know what I mean? Like, I just want the art to speak to the time and to do something interesting. It doesn't have to be the same, and I wish it weren't. But like, you know what? Just you know what I'm saying? Like Ghostbusters Afterlife. Love that movie and why it came about. Yeah, right. So,
Made of black film and folding tape structures.
I'll nod. Cool.
Very, very cool. Though I understand the socio-economic causes of the revolution, it pains me to imagine the revolutionary setting fire to this precious device. But so they did. The felt playback experiment vanished into the fires of '07.
Wait. The Feld playback experiment?
Yes, the official name of the prototype. Some sources report it as the Feld Playback Experience, but those are incorrect.
Why did the revolutionaries destroy it?
Who knows? Maybe it was an accident, or maybe they didn't want the technology to end up in the wrong hands. Either way, they're all gone now. All three versions of the prototype. Nothing but debris and ashes remain inside that building.
He takes a step back. The boardwalk creaks mournfully in the wind. It makes me think about Babbage machines, like all these early experiments. Because you know, you know how Thomas Edison invented electricity, but he probably stole it from one of the people that worked in his workshop. Other people were also inventing it at the same time. The same thing with film. They can be like, oh, it was the Lumiere brothers, but like, oftentimes there's like, it's really hard to invent something out of time. Sometimes there's going to be some kind of visionary who can invent something out of time. But what I mean is, usually for you to get to the point where you're going to make film or electricity or any of these things that we talk about, there's got to be enough infrastructural change and thought change so that it is now in the air as something that can be invented. And when that time comes, usually what ends up happening is that a couple of different people invent it at the same time, like Tesla and Edison, right? They're both inventing electricity, right, at the same time. So there's a moment where sometimes in this same moment, more than one person are making the airplane or the what, this or the that, but only some of them get remembered. And so you can think that there are probably all sorts of other kinds of computers, other avenues we could have walked down that we never did because that wasn't the one that stuck. It's like a Betamax or how when records came out, there were also cylinders. So there was a competing idea. Are we going to go with cylinders, wax cylinders, or wax discs? And we ended up going with discs, but we could have ended up going down with cylinders. And if you ever see, like, I would love to get a wax cylinder machine. That would be really cool. And like play a wax cylinder machine. I would love that. I wonder if I could get one for like super cheap. Anyway, so like I just kind of think it's interesting to think about all these alternate historical technological paths we could have just gone down, but we didn't. Yeah. Brellan says, Moffat is one of those creative guys that can only work properly with constraints. Yeah. Like George Lucas. Oh, yeah. He can be absolutely brilliant when there's someone that can tell him no to his more outlandish things, but when given free reign, it becomes kind of a mess. Yeah, I actually quite liked quite a bit of coupling that he did. Yeah. Artie says, hey, Trooper, I hope you're doing well and feeling healthy. I'm feeling much better. Sort of like, light headache, but I'm feeling pretty good. I think I just need to hydrate more. Poor Betamax. They look so good. They did look really good. Artie says, isn't that one of the reasons that the special theory of relativity is considered so much of a breakthrough? I can't remember which was the first term. Yeah. Max is like, oh, I would love to get one of those too. I do know some steampunk bands that have releases on wax. Stop. Hammer time. Volpez, did you just type into chat that you know some steampunk bands that have releases on wax cylinder? Did you just say that? Did you say that? You did. Okay, so I need you to run, don't walk, to my Discord, and I need you to post a link to that band and their wax cylinder. If this is like a brand new band that is making a wax cylinder, I need you to know that I need this. I need this for teaching. This is a thing that I have to have in my life. Also for scholarly purposes. Like, I can't not have this. This is a thing that I need to study this. I need to find out more about it. If you would please, I will die if you don't. Thank you. PB! Hey, a need to have in your life, like a candlestick telephone. Like there's some things that you need, like, because as you all know, right now vinyl's making a comeback, but it's kind of making comeback in like, right? But if wax cylinders are making a comeback, what is that? I need to know. I need to know. I need to know this. This is a thing I need to have in my life. It is why I'm looking forward to an upcoming TBS called Millennium, where you can actually play through alternate ages rather than the standard historical ones. Ooh. Rattan! Necktie! Yes! Tinfoil. Okay, this is, first off, Volpez, there are reasons why copy link address, opening up tab right now. Oh, this is everything that is good in my life. This is why our community is so good. That's all. This is what I just need to tell you. And do they have like modern ones that are made recently? Well, 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 well. Do you know what I have, by the way? Wait, while I'm on a different, while I'm on tabs, hold on. I want to show you something. Okay. I can put a link in. Scarlet Rose says, my contract workers called out, so I spent all day at home and not in the rain. Good to see you streaming again. Thank you. I am back. This time I'm dangerous. Artie says, like the Age of Blood or the Age of Hero or the Age of Plague or even more out there ones like the Age of Ether. Oh, that's cool. That CDs, but we'll pull up the cylinders. Okay, so I'm going to show you a company that I've known about since the 80s because a lot of people I hung out with in the Bay Area in the 80s were historical people. They did a lot of historical dance, right? That's I used to, when I was like a teenager, I would go to the Victorian ballroom dances, right? So there's like a lot of people who are like into historical dance and clothing, et cetera, in the Bay Area. And there was a company that existed, still exists, back in the day. They got into some trouble, but they were first, so it was okay. And the company is called the Amazon Dry Goods Company. That's it. So the Amazon Dry Goods Company is a place where you can get a lot of interesting like historical stuff, clothing things and things like that, new things. But here's what's really cool about them. And it was one of my dreams when I got older to be able to do this, and I actually now can, although you haven't seen it. You have not seen me in it, but maybe one day you will. So Amazon Dry Goods. So if you know this about like clothing and historical things, that back in the day, shirts didn't have collars attached to them. Very often they would be like just bands, and then you would have detachable collars that you would like have a collar button. You'd like attach the collar. If you've ever watched those cartoons where Bugs Bunny would be playing the piano wild and his collar would pop off, it's because they were detachable collars. Paper collars, yeah, either paper or linen or linene or all that. Scarlett says, "Oh, I missed a bit since you got back in the game. Have you found a lead yet on your gun?" No. And have you talked to Everard Clare? So, Scarlet Rose, I have talked to Everard Clare, and he sort of vaguely threatened me.
Of course. What else?
I checked out, like, I've done a little bit of work for him, but I haven't. He asked me to go and check out, like, unlock the door of this one person, which I did. And then I checked out the person's apartment, which is interesting. I haven't reported back to him yet because, it's clear that he's looking for my gun. And if he finds my gun before I do, I feel like he's going to blackmail me. And I just don't want that. So I really want to find my gun before he does. I don't know if that's possible. I'm having feelings. That's all. The first time I talked to him, I died on the very uncomfortable chair. Me too. Because I went in to talk to him with only one health left, and then I died. I was like, what is this? So it was a very awkward situation. I had to do a lot of gymnastics to not die. Because here's the thing. I died in the chair, but then I couldn't leave the area. Because the problem is, I was like, well, I need to heal up, but I can't get out to heal because I have to talk to him before I can get out of this zone. So I was stuck. So then I just searched everywhere. I found some drugs, some healing drugs, like in the Watchman's Tower, which got me to 2 health. So then I could talk to him, go back down to 1, not die, and get out. But it was very touch and go there for a moment. It was rough. It was rough. Yes. Oh my goodness. Angry chair. Uh, oh. So what I want to say about the Amazon dry goods is that there were these companies that made paper collars and linen collars, these sorts of things. And in order to make them, you would have these presses, like these special presses that would make these collars. And most of those companies don't exist anymore. Of course, they all went out of business when our fashion styles changed. But Amazon Dry Goods bought there was a company that was still existed and that was making these paper collars still, mostly for like films. And they bought the press when that company went out of business. They bought the press, so they still have one of the same. They have a hold on. Amazon Dry Goods is the only remaining company that manufactures paper collars. Our collars have been in continuous production since 1866. So if you want to get like a paper collar that is, or linen, which is like paper that's been like laminated, sort of. If you want to get, and they also have cuffs. If you want to get collars and cuffs that are built on the same machine since the 1860s, you can go there and you can get them, and they're not that expensive. Like a stand-up linen collar is $3, and it was one of my dreams because I love that stuff. There's something wrong with me. It was one of my dreams to like go and get that stuff. And the thing is, you have to get a shirt. You have to get a banded shirt that has. The problem is, if you buy a banded shirt today, most banded shirts are not actually made to hold collars. You know it's actually made to hold collars if it has a buttonhole in the back. And most of the ones you buy nowadays are not actually, they're just like, it's just the aesthetic, but not the functionality. So you have to actually go to a place that will sell shirts that are actually made to take detachable collars. They do sell some. And so I got one, and I was like, so I have one, and I have a couple collars, and you've not ever seen me wear one, but I probably should. But it was like my big dream. I was so excited. I understand I'm a nerd. It's fine. Am I on day? Oh yeah, paper collars, top hats. I'm telling you, they got everything here. You know what I really want though? It's so dumb. A collapsible top. That is not dumb. That's awesome. I am on day 3 right now. Scarlet Rose, I'm on day 3, and so I've avoided talking back to Everard Clare, even though I did the job for him, but I haven't reported back. So I'm hanging out in the fishing village area, and now I have a place to stay that does not involve spending a lot of money, which is really good. So I'm gonna say, great. Thank you for all that interesting information.
No, thanks to you for having me and little Michael here to pick your brain. A very interesting conversation indeed.
Oh, thanks. He seems maybe he's okay.
Your brain. If anything, this was rather one-sided. He did the talking. Whatever.
Yeah. That was so cool. By the way, y'all, what's going on over here? Nothing new, it doesn't look like. Still, we're just moving along with our thoughts. Oh, I know. We have this new thing, the Wumpty Dumpty Dum Center. It's Wednesday evening and something heinously exciting is underway. People have gathered beneath the building roof of an oddly shaped trophy building, sipping wine and exchanging opinions. 29-year-old Wunder twins Guy and Keith Just are the stars of the show with their bomber jackets and white sneakers, head curators of this art exhibition. It's the Wumpty Dumdy Dummiest event of the year, and all the cool kids are RSVP. Where are you, if not there? I think I have to go there because I'm an art cop. I don't know what it will do for me, but I feel like I have to be there. I'm an art cop. I have to go to the art center. What'll I do if I don't go? I'm just saying. It's only a teenage wasteland. What's this? Hello.
You see, a once bright mural towering above you. The signage has peeled off over the years, but you can still make out Feld Electrical R&D.
Scarlet Rose, how are you? What's going on in your life? What's new? Also, PB, how you doing? He was hanging out. What do we have here? Scarlet Rose, I don't have to pay all that money to stay at the, another power box. Nothing new, it's empty. On the outside, ruins, but what are ruins? Oh, yeah. So I don't have to pay 20 centimes, 20 real to stay at the Whirling Rags anymore. I can stay at this Fisher lady's shack, which I'm feeling really good about because that's a lot of money. a lot of money. I don't have that kind of money, is what I'm trying to tell you. Whew. Yeah, it's like, oh. Oh. Okay, what do we have here? We're finding money and a healing item. All that's pretty good. I'm feeling really good about it. The fence blocks the path. No way on from here. Fine, we'll just go around. It's fine. I was saying, Scarlet Rose, that I really want a book. Bars cover these long, dusty
The
windows.
remaining windows rattle from a strong gust of wind. They're covered in a thick layer of grime. They must have been like this for 40 years.
I'm gonna try to see inside.
Dripping water falls from a high place. All you can see is the shadow of a collapsing staircase.
Lieutenant, can you make out what's inside?
No, I won't even try. You know,
He takes his glasses off. Right.
I had a partner once. They called him Eyes because he had to show me things. It's that bad.
I just think that Kim and I had a bonding moment. I think he just opened up to me. I'm not gonna say can you still shoot though, because that seems, I'm just gonna nod. Kim is my best friend. I don't think anybody else likes Harry except for Kim. It's a little sad. Also, I don't know if Kim actually likes Harry. As for myself, I've been good. I'm waiting on news if I got this 2-month contract job in Florida or not. Oh, neat. Doing what? What kind of work? Will you be a contract killer, an assassin in Florida? You have to say yes. You have to say. Relax, it's not yours. You didn't crash every MC in Revachol, hopefully. You know what? If you want it, you can tell us if you're a contract killer. If you want. Don't have to if you don't want. Security work and keeping people from breaking OSHA rules. Oh, interesting. That's cool. I want to tell you all something. That's just what a contract killer would say. Yeah, right. You're like, yeah, I'm just here to check out the OSHA stuff. Okay. So if you've ever played, it's a video game that I loved playing on the Xbox. It was one of the games that I really enjoyed, and I think there might be able to play it in our current environment. Maybe Hitman. I think they might. I think they have it for the PS4. But the Hitman series, Agent 47, loved it because I feel like Agent 47 would totally pretend to be an OSHA agent, go into a factory, like loosen the safety railings for the target, and then like lure the target on the catwalk. The target falls through the safety railings, and then Agent 47 or Scarlet Rose, our contract killer, just leaves on out the back door, and nobody's any the wiser. That's what I'm feeling. OSHA's 11? Oh, Roller! OSHA's 11, that's really good. Oh, Roller, that's really good. Oh my goodness. Scarlet Rose does not have a suspiciously heavy mandolin case. Also, Scarlet Rose, my sound is a little bit off because I need to update my my firmware, so it's going to be a little bit crackly, and I'm so sorry. But we will get there. What I'm going to say. So there's stuff here that I want to investigate, but I won't because I feel like we want to cover all this. I like to be systematic, so we'll cover all this area first, and then tiny cages, carefully constructed. I know who these guys are. I think we found one husband who's not dead, so I feel good about that, probably. Hopefully.
Here we go. Nice and easy. No way out, little guys. Not out of this jam.
So, Scarlet Rose, we found a dead husband. That was awkward, but now I think we found a live husband, so I'm feeling like it's pretty good. Hitman 3 with World of Hitman is so good. It has all the games rolled into one now. Oh, I love that. Trooper, the first rule of murder for hire is don't talk about on the internet. Right. Especially during a stream that's being recorded. Sorry. Oops. Never mind. I'm a model, you know what I mean, and I do my little turn on the catwalk. BB says, you win some, you lose some. Scarlet Rose says, they're a lot better at being husbands when they were made alive, right? I mean, he's dead. Uh, so I was thinking about something. It's a side note about game design and history and aesthetic and taste. Um, there's this thing where they said somebody was like in like that they're teaching in game design classes now. I was talking to Simon about it when they're like, a player has to have something to do every 5 minutes or the game is a failure. And a lot of those stealth games, you would sit and you'd wait for more than 5 minutes. Like I used to play Hitman and also Splinter Cell quite a bit. Splinter Cell? Yes. With Michael Ironsides was voicing that guy. And I remember like sneaking into a place, putting on a special like a chef's costume or whatever, and just waiting in a corner to like figure out what the guards' patterns were, wait for the right moment, move, right? Or if it was Splinter Cell, I'd shoot out a light or whatever it was. And like a game, like those games were kind of meant like they were not. I always tried to get in and get out without being caught, so that like the noise when you activate the night vision goggles. Yes. Oh, that noise is so good. Um, one of my favorite missions in one of the Hitmen, might have been Hitman 2, maybe, where you have to go into this Yakuza compound and kill this Yakuza head. And it was really hard. And I remember what I did was that I poisoned his sushi. I disguised myself as a chef. I went in, I poisoned his sushi, and then I left. And then I waited outside of the compound, like where you start the adventure, like you start outside the compound, and I got back out. I'm completely outside the compound, and I waited, and I waited, and I had to wait for a while. I'm just sitting there waiting, and then all of a sudden it goes, target dead. Because I had to wait for him to actually eat the food, so it took a while for him to get there, because I was really efficient. But I was not even in the building when he died. It was awesome. I felt so much like a badass assassin. And I understand, like, I didn't see him die because I wasn't in the room at the time, right? But it was so cool. And I understand that that is not the way that people think video games should be made now, but I really enjoyed that moment. Not a Yakuza knee, a Yakuza head. Yeah. And so, like, I thought that was really satisfying to not even be in the room or see it when it happened, but then to know it, then to get the alert being like, yep, he's dead. I thought that was awesome.
There's a cylinder on the ground in which the man is arranging some netting. It looks like some kind of trap. He notices you.
That sounds cool. Now I want to play an assassin in Call of Cthulhu. Laugh Love Lindy played an assassin in a Call of Cthulhu game, I believe.
Who's there? Oh, the police. Hello, officers.
Hello.
His self-conscious enthusiasm renders his movements ungainly. He looks like your understanding of a scientist.
But you wouldn't find out about the kills until it appears in the papers. I have another thought about that, actually, about how to do that in an interesting way in a game itself.
Is that the police?
Hello.
Why are the police here?
You're a crypto fascist. What are you doing, Gary? Who are you?
Don't worry, Gary. I'll handle it.
Okay. What is going on? Hey, you must be Morel, the cryptozoologist?
To what do I owe the pleasure?
I was talking to your wife?
That's sarcasm. He takes no pleasure from your appearance.
Yeah, Lita sent me. She's been really worried about you and is waiting for you to get back.
Hey, of course. Thank you for passing along the message. That damn water lock is broken, and we can't go all the way around the 881.
Okay, everybody. I need your advice. Let's make a poll. This is a poll-worthy situation right now. Here's what I don't know. I don't know if I volunteer how much of a screw-up I am, or whether or not I don't volunteer how much of a screw-up I am. Let's make a poll. New poll. Tell the guy I'm a screw-up, or no. Tell him, or none of his business. All right. We're doing a poll. I just need to know. I need your advice on this one because I could go either way, and so I need your help on this one. That's my thought on that one. Uh, if I get this gig in my downtime, I'll write out my COC Mansion murder mystery one shot and your Cyberpunk Red Scream sheet I already titled as headcase. Ooh, Scarlet Rose, like it, like it. I'm hoping in the summer I can do a thing. I've got this. I really want to rework Humanity and Vampire the Masquerade, and I've been talking to Simon about it, and so maybe we can do something in the summer together about it. Trooper, if it was Lockpick Lou, she felt more like everything rogue than assassin. PB says, I was this close to playing an assassin in my last Call of Cthulhu game, but my character kept surviving the very unsurvivable circumstances they found themselves in. You know, sometimes that happens. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're like, this character's going to die, and then they never do. I'd be happy to talk shop. Yeah, I'm very, got a lot. I'm very excited about some stuff. I'm looking forward to the summer. Look, I'm very much enjoying my classes right now, and I'm sure they'll be really great, but I'm looking forward to the summer when I have a lot of things I want to do. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping I can get some. I mean, I've got a lot of writing to do, both academic and non-academic, so I'm looking forward to it. Just give me a time, I'll make it work. I had a player play an assassin in a zombie apocalypse BRP game I ran. He lasted 2 sessions before he got killed by a fast kid zombie who had moments before been a player character. Ooh, 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 ooh. I was thinking about BRP for a reason. What was it? I had a thought that I was wanting to tell you about recently. It's 8:50. We're gonna go to 9:30. Give us a good 3 hours. It's good 3 hours of gaming. The poll is coming right now. Yeah, 2 PC deaths there, and the one who suggested we need to practice fighting zombies managed to run away. The winner is Nunya. Nunya Business is our winner for our poll. So, none of his business. We're not going to tell him. We're not going to volunteer. That's what we've learned. The waterlock's been fixed. It was fine when I crossed it.
Oh, good. We should really be getting back. Gary could use a hot shower and a warm bed.
You Australian?
Did he say we can go back now?
Yes, Gary. We can go soon. If you see Lena, tell her I won't be long.
All right. This guy is the same guy who does another voice. I recognize his voice from a different character.
Sir, your wife is waiting for you.
Don't be a bad husband. The last husband we ran into is dead, so you know.
I just have to do one more round. See if the phasmid has taken the bait. Then we're going.
He fastens a bit of netting that has come loose in the wind. Max is like, no, it was BRP. I played with a bunch of college kids from Appalachian State University who I was friends with. I didn't tell them the premise of the game, just make up a present-day character and you all know each other. There's a really important Black Banjo conference that was at the Appalachian State University in Boone. There was the first one, which I couldn't afford to go because I was too poor. And it was 2008, and I was a grad student, but then there was a second one, and I went to the second one, and that was very cool. But I will say this about Boone. High elevation. I stayed with a friend who lived not far from there, who was like house sitting for a cabin like up in the mountains of Boone, around there. And I, got there, and she said, just take it easy walking up the drive. I was like, oh, okay. And I'm walking the drive, and I'm like, I got winded. I was like, oh, this is what happens when you're at a very high elevation and don't have a lot of oxygen. Got it. But it was like so funny because I've got, especially back then, had a lot of really good cardio, played a lot of soccer. So I'm not used to being winded. Like if I get winded, something is up, right? And certainly just winded walking up a driveway. But I got winded walking up a driveway and was like, this is what it's like when there's no oxygen because you are too high up in altitude. I took note of it and I thought it was interesting. As they fled Boone, at the end of the session, they heard on the radio of the meteor swarm that Earth was passing through. The meteors were striking all over the world.
For all his passion, this man is diligent and patient. You could learn things from him.
Tell me about this phasmid you're looking for.
Well, First of all, it's damn difficult to find, which is why we've been knee-deep in the reeds laying traps for it.
What makes it so difficult to find?
Good question. Being a phasmid of the order Phantasmodea, a ghost insect, it disguises itself as plant matter. In this case, the reeds. Awful lot of reeds around, aren't there?
Phantasmodea. Phasmagoria? Phantagoria? Phasmagoria? Scarlet Rose says, the meanest thing I ever did as a storyteller to introduce a new game to friends was to have all of my characters build mortals in a World of Darkness setting. Then I got them all killed at the end of the first session in a bus accident. At the end of the session, I pulled out the source book. We'll be using Wraith the Oblivion. Ooh, that's cool. That's very, very cool. Phasmophobia. Everybody, please, is Phasmagoria a thing, or am I just thinking about Phantagoria? Somebody with old knowledge of like 80s horror. Is Phasmagoria a thing, or am I just thinking about Phantagoria? That Phantagoria was a magazine, right? Phantagoria? From the 80s? Somebody?
And I suspect it may have also developed other specialized techniques to protect itself from predators or scientists in our present case.
Fangoria, right? Like Phasmagoria sounds familiar, but I don't know if I just made that up. But Fangoria. Fangoria? Maybe I'm mixing up Fangoria and Fantagraphics. And but Phasmagoria, I feel like it just feels so familiar. It has a familiar ring. Like, is there some kind of like Phantasmagoria is a thing? Phantasm was a horror series. It's a video game. Yeah, Fangoria was a magazine from the 80s because it used to be. We had this science fiction. We had this like sci-fi convention in San Francisco called Creation Convention when I was growing up, and it was like from the 70s and 80s, and it was like the Star Trek science fiction convention, and they would have like Fangoria was actually also part of that convention, so it'd be like a Fangoria section. They would always have like that's where I got to meet Nichelle Nichols in person. It was amazing. I also got to meet the guy who played Turlo from Doctor. Like this was sci-fi conventions in the 80s before the new generation was. So you would get like you'd get those kind of sci-fi actors. This was before sci-fi became cool again, right? So you'd get like maybe you'd get Michael Ironside, right? And maybe you would get if you were lucky, you could get Robert Englund, right, to come and maybe see Robert Englund. But you'd get like Nicola Place, who was Perry in Doctor Who. You'd get, you know, Nichelle Nichols. That was cool, right? It was like do you know what I'm like? This was well before. And Rissa's here. Rissa, you would go to Comic-Con in San Diego back in this era before Comic-Con got massively huge. So it was that era of the sci-fi convention where it had comic books too, like lots of comic books. You could see some comic book artists. They always had like costume competitions. They didn't call it cosplay yet, but it was that particular kind of Conan would be involved, Red Sonja, you know what I mean? Yep. You know what I'm talking about. Phantasmagoria is a video game. That's probably what I was thinking of. No, wait. From 95 from Sierra, Phantasmagoria video game. Mm-hmm. I hate when you look up a word on Google and they're like, oh, you obviously mean something you didn't write, so we'll show you that instead. Yeah. I have a signed Nichelle Nichols pick from a friend who went to a con and got it for me. When I met her in person, which by the way, so I found out about Creation Convention. I don't know. I was like 12 or 13, and somehow I found out that this convention existed. And I was like, Mom, I really want to go to this science fiction convention, this Star Trek convention. Will you take me? My mom was like, yes. What I did not realize was that I think my mom was way more excited to go than I was, and she would dress up in costumes. Like, I remember this one costume she had where she painted herself silver, and like, she would always make original costumes, and she made these amazing costumes. She'd go like all decked out, right? And we would go to the convention. This is very much the 70s and early 80s. We'd go, we'd see whoever it was, and then she'd like just I'd be like, Mom, I want to hang out here on the vendor floor. She's like, okay. And then she'd like, I'd be like by myself for an hour as a 13-year-old, seeing all the stuff, right? And then she'd go do her stuff. It was cool. And I remember we got to see Nichelle Nichols, and like I was so excited to meet Nichelle Nichols. And she gave me a hug, and she had the best perfume. And she gave the best hugs, like this big warm hug with this. She had this great perfume. But my mom was clearly way more excited to see Nichelle Nichols than I was, because my mom was born in the 50s. So I was born in, so yeah, she was probably born in like 53 ish, uh, 53, 54. So for her, Nichelle Nichols was like everything, right? It was like the first time she got to see a black woman on TV who was like not a maid and who got to be amazing. And like and my mom was such a sci-fi nerd always. And I know that Nichelle Nichols was so important to her. And it's like to be able to like, and like she took me to the convention because I wanted to go. But I thought it was really cool that we both got to meet her. And I know that was like a really important moment for my mom to meet Nichelle Nichols. And I think that sometimes when people say representation matters, that's what they mean. You know what I mean? That it's important to see somebody who could be like you doing something cool like flying through the stars. Yeah, yeah. It was like really great, you know? Yeah. Well, in Google's offense, that is how brains work. We misspell or misremember, almost 100% positive that Trooper's conflating Phantasmagoria and Fangoria and making a new thing. I think that's exactly what I'm doing, by the way. That's what I'm doing. Vulpes says, yep, I have a great story about stumbling back to my room at 5 a.m. and running into George Takei as he's running out for his run. What? That's amazing! That's amazing. It's not a new thing. Phantasmagoria is stuff. Not what Trooper thought it was, but there are plenty of hits, yeah. PB says, Fangoria, apparently also a Spanish electropop duo, formed in 1989 and adopted the name of the Fangoria magazine, which was in line with the interest in. Okay, first off, PB, do you have a link to their? Hold on, wait a minute. Excuse me for one moment. I need to pull up YouTube and see if I can find this band, because you just said a number of things that are right up my alley. You said 1989 electropop, so this is very exciting for me. Fangoria electropop. Okay, I think I found them, and I think I found them. Thanks. They're on a tab. My life. Tangent alert. Hey, Prax. How are you? We're having a lovely conversation about all of the things. So, what sort of specialized techniques is the Phasmid using to hide
It's
itself?
my hypothesis that it has evolved certain electrochemical defenses that allow it to interfere with animal perception, impeding pattern recognition, confusing the visual cortex.
Valtiel says, I feel like a dangerous amount of tabs have been added to the collection of this stream. Okay, so Valtiel, last week when I wanted to stream Sandman, which we'll be doing tomorrow, I pulled up OBS and I was like, oh no, I need to close tabs for real, because I had pulled up way too many. Because here's the thing, last week I was in the process of prepping for class. And when I prep for a class, I pull up 1,000 tabs, like, oh, I need 1,000 tabs for rock and roll, 1,000 tabs for American music, and I pull up 1,000 tabs, and that, has an impact on my RAM. And I saw OBS struggling, and I was like, dang it, I need to close tabs. I did. You should be proud of me.
But I cannot describe how these defenses work, much less how they evolved, without studying a live specimen.
All right. Rawr.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. You're beginning to suspect there's something paranatural about this Phasmid.
How big is this Phasmid?
I'm expecting it to be quite giant. One known species of phasmid, called the Megaphasmodea zoensis, is about the size of a grown man's forearm. So,
He leaves a conclusion up to me. right now we're talking about, it's really interesting. Sorry, just thinking about conventions, sci-fi conventions. Right, I think it's really interesting how when I was going as a kid, the word cosplay had not come to the United States. It was just the costume competition, and then Japan is really excited about these costume competitions. They do the thing they do. They make a portmanteau. They call it cosplay, and then it comes back to the United States. Like that term comes back to the United States. I think that's just really interesting, right? So now everybody calls it cosplay, and I think that's just fascinating how cultural circulation happens, right? I just think it's interesting, and I was like, oh, interesting. Um, you'll love this. I'm sure I will. I met and hung out with Count Gordeval. Did you really? Oh. PB says, I adore that you and your mom, for you and your mom. The enjoyment of fandom and of frivolous kid entertainment is stolen from adults and parents too much. Yeah, being able to enjoy it with her must have been so precious. It really was. Like, it gets me teary when I think about it. And I loved seeing her create these amazing costumes. Hey, by the way, she almost never won these costume competitions because, okay, so my mom would craft, she would sew, create these amazing sorts of costume works of art. And she would never win. They would always go to somebody in a Star Trek uniform. And I think that was the bias. I don't know what it's necessarily like nowadays, but I think there was just like a really strong bias towards recognized characters versus sort of like own creations. I don't know if it's better. She won in my heart. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I always thought so. Like I was like my mom won. She was amazing. Hold on. Let me see if I can maybe I can show you something. Hold on. Let me see if I can show you something. Woo. Because we still have like 15 or so minutes. We'll finish this conversation. But I want to see. I have no idea where this program will pop up. Okay, good. We're still good. I want to see if I can find something to show you. Hold on. This is me sharing something with you all. Hold on. That's all streaming stuff. Looking for family. Where's my family stuff? Here it is. I'm going to show you something. Here we go. Let me. I think what I'll have to do is drag this to my desktop. Hold on. There we go. Let me drag this to the desktop. And then let's see if I can actually find it. Where did you go? Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? There we go. Okay, I'm going to show you something. Yeah, it's still a big thing. Stacey always had that problem, original versus known characters. But like the stuff she does was phenomenal. So I'm going to show you something because I want to share with you something about my mom, who I love more than anything. She's no longer alive. So my mom was an amazing artist. And what she did was she did art. She was an amazing artist. For the popular vote, I understand, but in front of a panel judges you for less bias. Yeah, that's what I thought. So my mom would make art out of beadwork. She'd make a canvas. She'd like build a frame, and then she'd stretch fabric over the frame, and then she would draw on the fabric what her art idea was. And then she'd take beads. She'd go to the store called Yoni's and buy all these sea beads, and then she'd stitch them into the fabric 4 at a time, and then she would build this entire work of art. And it would take her, anywhere between a year to a couple of years to create this art. And the very first work of this art that she did, she gave to me, and so I actually have it. My sister has all the rest of it, but I have my mom's first piece of this art that she made for me when I was a little kid, and I have a photograph of it, and I'm going to share this with you. So right now you can't see me and you can't see the art because it's too big, but I'm gonna just do a little bit of scaling for you, so you're gonna have to like work with me for a moment as you get the reveal. So we're almost there. There we go. So this here is my mom's art. This is Rose Nelm. And this is what she did. And I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see the detail. Yeah, this is her stuff, right? So if you look, you can see, right? All of this is beadwork right here, right? All of these are beads. And sadly, this thing is from the 70s, so there's a bit of damage there. But all these are different beads that she hand sewed into this frame. And then this here is fabric that she's stuffed on the, around it. And so she created this person, this figure that she called Rose Nelm. And like this here, this is the kind of work that my mom did. And she would do even more complicated, like this was her first one. And as she got better with it, she would get more complicated with her work. She would put, those rocks? That's Rose Nelm, by the way. That's that artwork. Oh, I still own it, Max. It is that artwork is in my living room right now. I'm holding on to it for dear life. I need to talk to Hey Wild. I need to talk to it's tricky, right? Because I need to talk to somebody who's like an art person about preservation, but the problem is this is fabric arts, and a lot of the kind of museum curators are not necessarily fabric arts people. So I need to talk to somebody who I could talk to about preservation who actually knows fabric arts. So that is my most prized possession, as a matter of fact. That is absolutely my most prized possession. That is right. That's the thing. Yeah. I think we found a new emote. Oh my, that's amazing. Oh, that is the one that I got as a tattoo. I've got a tattoo that you can kind of see the top of my tattoo when I'm playing Dixon because, I'm wearing a tank top, which I'm currently also wearing. There it is, right? And then, I think I'm still within TOS, but yeah, I got a tattoo of it on right over my heart, of my mom's artwork. When I was in Atlanta, I was like, oh, I need to find a tattoo artist that can deal with melanated skin. I did, and then I got this tattoo of Rose Nelm to honor my mom. So that was my newest tattoo. Trooper, you need to message Meg Baker. Really? She works with preserving fabric arts and she's in Mass, attached to a local museum. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Very understood. I have something I will not sell under any circumstances since it matters more to me in a sentimental way. Yeah. I like the life path in Cyberpunk Red that includes a prized possession section. Yeah. Me too. Well, it's so good to see you, by the way. Contact the Museum of the American Indian. They may be able to suggest someone who can work with beadwork. Yeah, that's also a very good idea. My Snake Rocker Girl character I recently started playing got jewelry as a prized possession. So like Trooper, she has art, a necklace her mother made her as her most prized possession. Yeah. She's been helping us preserve care for our inherited embroidery. Oh, that's great. That's really good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to put down here Meg Baker. Museum. Okay. Yes. Yeah. It's just a little sad because my mom has all this other work that my sister has and even cooler stuff, but I don't think there's anything cooler than Rose Nelm. But my sister's care of it is a little bit less than I think it should be. You know what I mean? Why are you so interested in this stick bug? It doesn't seem to be as colorful as some of the other cryptids I've heard about.
Typical rookie assumption. Insects are much more sophisticated creatures than those unversed in zoology give them credit for. Even simply catching a glimpse of the Insulindian phasmid would be the apex of of any cryptozoologist's career. But to study it and its defenses, find out how it stayed hidden so long.
Shakes his head. I know that Prax will appreciate this. I think about I like this. I like his voice too, and I really feel like he voices another character in here. This is the sort of high art, low art problem that they call them folk arts, right? There are all these folk arts that people don't preserve in the same way that they wouldn't preserve like a lot of things are not thought of as being important enough to preserve, but they are important. And I'm really glad that there are people who are learning to specialize, right? Because for the longest time, if you studied art preservation, it wouldn't be fabrics in that way because you're thinking about oil paintings and all of that. And I really think it's really valuable, wonderful, and good that we're getting more people who are valuing um, textile arts and embroidery and beading and all sorts of other stuff. All that kind of uh, all the other kinds of arts. They're just as important as. And look, I love a good oil painting. I really do. But like, it's not the only kind of art. Like, there are lots of arts, and being able to preserve quilting, right? All that kind of stuff is also important. What have you discovered about it so far?
Very little, I'm sorry to say. No one's ever captured a specimen, so all our information is based on first and third hand accounts.
Hmm. So no one's ever found one.
Not yet. That's what makes it a cryptid.
Right. Volpa says there's very much a growing appreciation of outsider art. There is, and I'm really glad, right? Because those things matter too. Do you know what I mean?
Just out of curiosity, if there's no proof of its existence, how do you know it's real?
So, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that people are. There was this really great woman over at. I was at Cornell for like a semester, doing like a. No, I was there for the year. I was there for the year, like doing their humanities center thing. And there was one woman there who, what she did was, she was a fashion historian, and she specialized in keeping clothing, like preserving clothing and keeping clothing safe. And one of the things that she said that was really interesting, crafters are artists, absolutely. And one of the things that was really interesting was that she said that one of the worst things you can do for clothing is to keep it boxed up and never, like, what keeps fabric healthy is to keep it in use, right? That basically clothing that is worn regularly preserves better than clothing that is stuck in a box and never touched, because then it gets like brittle. And like, I think that's like, I thought that was just really interesting. The other way to do it if you don't want to wear it regularly is to actually keep it in a sealed airtight thing so that the air doesn't, right? Yeah. Max says, my mother did a lot of crafts, pottery figures and painting. Ooh, nice. A few years ago, when we cleaned up our attic, we found her paintings. They're up all over the house now. Oh, that's awesome. You know, it's also really cool art, decoupage. Like seeing like decoupage from like the 20, like, anyway, I love all that stuff, right?
I know it's real.
The cryptozoologist says brusquely enough that even he seems taken aback
It's
by
clear
it.
that his obsession with the phasmid is driven by something more than the pure pursuit of scientific advancement.
By which I mean, I've heard enough first-hand accounts to believe quite firmly that the Insulindian phasmid is more than mere superstition.
Lena has said that there's been a sighting of it here in Martinez.
The most recent sighting was by a couple of teenagers along the coast here. That's what brought us to Martinez specifically. It's the first credible sighting in several decades. Admittedly, it's an unusual location for this species, but with all the sewage runoff upstream, it probably doesn't matter much anymore.
Warning, thank you, 10. Max says, my own room is filled with pencils or pen and paper drawings done by my players of various characters in the games I've run. I love them. Yeah, all from, yeah. You know what's really great? You know, Laugh Love Lindy, who's amazing. And one of the things I really think is, like, I really respect about Laugh Love Lindy is that she commissions art of her characters. She's like, I'm going to find an artist and I'm going to pay them to make art of my characters. It's her way to like support art and also get cool art of her characters, which is awesome. Like, I love that. I think that's great. You know, yay. Maybe some ravers spotted? Yes. Volpa says, I'm very glad to be from a city with some great museums, from the Visionary Arts Museum with great unique works to the Walters with its wide and varied collections. Yeah, I art's great. There was a thing I wanted to I wanted to share with you. It was about oh, those are seabirds. Sorry, it's about birds. Ah, gosh, It was about art, and it was about different kinds of art. No, I can't remember. No, maybe the Elysium phasmid has died out.
To resist the thought, such an extraordinary creature is doubtlessly highly resilient. After all, it's generally thought to be capable of parthenogenesis.
Oh, that's self-replication. Okay, I know what it is, but I don't think my character does. Failures, encyclopedia. Parthenogenesis?
Yes. The females don't need males to reproduce. Makes it easier for a species to survive in adverse conditions.
I know about that term because of my time in Germany. That's pretty clever.
Yes, Insulindian phasmid is a very clever insect. That's why it's so damn difficult to catch. But as a scientist, I'll try my best to remain dispassionate.
Y'all, the world is full. There is this artist that I found recently, and I forgot her name. I see if I can find her again. She does um, artwork based out of fabric. She uses like African fabrics, and she creates these like portraits of people using fabric, and they're really amazing. I should find her again. I found her somewhere just randomly. You know, you find things randomly on the internet. That's my life. I should see if I can find her again because then I can maybe post some of the art in our Discord because it was beautiful. I love art. I love art. I love art. Whatever that is like, whatever that means, because it's about people sharing things, and that's beautiful. Detective Dali. By the way, my mustache is not curled up because I need because of mask. I had to wear a mask today. Whenever I wear a mask and I curl my mustache, it just ruins the curl, and so I brush my mustache down when I'm going outside and going to be masked. Tell me more about these traps.
Well, they may not look impressive, but Lena designed them quite cleverly, so I'm sure they'll do the trick.
Lena designed the traps?
Yes.
He says with some pride. How do the traps work?
Simple. Attracted by the locusts, the phasmid crawls down the funnel and, having eaten its fill, can get back out.
Hmm.
At least, that's the intention. The net isn't a perfect solution, but we didn't want to use anything that might damage the specimen's delicate exoskeleton.
Well, what are you using as bait?
Locusts. Nearly all known phasmids are herbivores, of course.
Of course.
We've hypothesized that the Insulindian phasmid might occasionally prey on other insects.
Interesting.
Inside the traps, a number of locusts crawl and tumble over one another in a tiny, chittering swarm. The meat-eating stick insect doesn't pretend to be the reeds as part of its ambush behavior. This seems unlikely.
A carnivorous stick insect? I mean, it seems unlikely.
Thank you for your opinion. We have also included plant material in the traps to satiate your skepticism.
I'm just having a conversation. What will you do if these traps don't work?
They'll work, I assure you. The predatory hypothesis, using locusts as bait, accounts for the failure of previous efforts by other teams, which use plants. We have given this some thought.
Awesome. Dr. Magritte, the game is a foot or a knee.
The traps do seem to be deftly and thoughtfully constructed. It's clear the cryptozoologist's wife knows what she's doing.
And she's cool. So let me ask you about something else.
Yes. What?
Lena seems pretty eager for you to return.
And I'm eager to return to her, I assure you. But I can't leave before we finish with these traps.
Yeah.
My wife understands that just as well as anyone.
He looks south, where Lena would be.
Come on, Morale. We've been soaking out here for days. It's time to go back.
Come on, Gary.
Leave the traps? Absolutely not. I won't let Lena down.
Well, that's interesting. Something's going on there. Yeah, I think maybe I can help him with the traps.
She wants us back. I'm soaked up to my nuts over here. We'll both catch reed crabs if we don't dry out soon.
I can help,
Let Lena down. It
right?
sounds like the cryptozoologist's wife shares a special connection to the Phasmid somehow.
Right? This seems like it's very important. I didn't know the Phasmid was so important to Lena.
Of course it's important to her. She's seen it. A
Oh,
verified sighting, on record. One of only 4 this century, and it's hers.
really? She sighted the Phasmid? She didn't tell me that.
Yes, that's how we first came to know one another, in fact. But
Hmm.
that's her story to tell, not mine.
He coughs, then continues.
Needless to say, you must ask her about the mysterious Phasmid.
I must, and maybe I can help.
Suffice to say, it's long been our dream to find proof of the Insulindian Phasmid together. I can't abandon course now.
Another cough. Into his fist this time. Oh, that doesn't seem. Thank you, 3. That doesn't seem good. Uh. Maybe you could go back to the whirling, warm up, come back to check the traps later?
No, no, no. The traps need to be monitored on a regular schedule. What would we do if the Phasmid were to starve while we were sipping tea at the hostel?
Well, yeah, okay, but.
He's dead set on this.
Okay, but.
I could go for some trap setting.
Yeah, well, what if we check the traps for you?
I didn't expect you to take such an interest in our work here, officer.
He looks at me with obvious surprise. You know, I'm all in with this cryptid shit. I'm
Got
hooked.
the bug, I see.
I have.
It's easier to get caught up in the search than you'd imagine.
Also, when I was in 10th grade in high school, in our English class, we had to do a research project, but we could do it on whatever topic we wanted. This is a true story. Um, any topic we wanted. 10th grade, we had to do a research project. We had to, like, bibliography, all the sources. I did my 10th grade my 10th grade research project on the Loch Ness monster. Just so you know, because I am that kind of nerd. So where are these
There
traps?
are 4 in total. One is to the south, on this little peninsula, by the
Oh.
boathouses there. It's very near.
Okay.
Another we set in Land's End, to the northeast. It's behind a small sand dune there, on your way to the old radio tower, after the church.
Okay.
The third is set near the canal, where you crossed, by a concrete slab. A big
Okay.
thicket of reeds going up the slope, and among them,
He gestures to the trap in front of
you
him.
should check at least one of those before returning to this one, since I just said it. This one's more of a technicality, but still, better safe and stupid than sorry.
I think I forgot the locations. I hope they'll let us know. It's fine. What do I do if there's a phasmid in one of these traps?
Bring it to me at once. Just make sure the trap is closed tight.
Okay. By the way, Scarlet Wars is like, no wonder we get along, right? Bell says, I hope you got an A on that one. It sounds like it. Okay, so just so you know, I think we had to do 10 pages, and I think I did 20. And I also put it in a folder, and I created a cover. There was like a I found like an old book of dinosaurs that had a picture of plesiosaur, and like I photocopied the picture of the plesiosaur, and I like pasted it into my title page, and then I used color pencils, and like colored penciled the plesiosaur to make it look like. Actually, what I cut out the plesiosaur itself, and then I pasted it onto the page, and then I drew like a background, and like I'm just telling you, it was very extra. I went very extra, and I went and I did a lot of research on the various theories about what the Loch Ness monster could be, and I went very extra on that one, is what I want to say. And there was reference to Ogopogo, and I talked about Chessie and Champ and all the different lake monsters. Whole thing. I did get an A, by the way, because I really went extra. Because Nessie. What if I encounter the Phasma in the
That's
wild?
highly unlikely, officer. But in the event you do, I'll
He
spray
takes out
you
a
with a pheromone mixture I developed.
Oh, He takes out a small white spray
It's
can.
made of musk and research chemicals. The pheromone should attract the insect to you, or at least prevent it from bolting at the sight of you. It's quite potent. Will last you about a week.
Lay it on me. Thick. I'm going to present my armpit. He douses me with the odd-smelling spray, a double helping as I present my other armpit, and then gives me a satisfied
I
nod.
hope you're not buying this. He dispenses it without letting you touch the canister, so it would be precious like holy water.
The lieutenant wrinkles his nose.
It is precious. A single dose cost me 50 real to develop. Not that I expect you to understand self-financing one's own research.
He looks at the lieutenant with disdain, then puts the spray back in his pocket. Well, I'm ready. Let's get to it.
Which means you two can pack up and go back to the whirling.
Whatever he thinks about this detour, it's clear that these men are exhausted and in need of assistance.
Yes.
Finally, someone's talking sense.
Thanks, Gary the crypto-fascist.
Thank you for your help. Gary and I will start breaking down camp. If you have any more questions, now's the time to ask. We'll be gone once you get to it.
If it's more
Okay.
cryptid-related business you want to discuss, you'll have time for that later too.
Oh, so we don't have to do it now. Thank you, Rhetoric.
What if the information is vital on the hunt?
Oh. I have asked most things. Let me just ask this one last question. How did you become a cryptozoologist? And then we can go.
Just always liked animals and puzzles. Searching for cryptids is a bit of both.
So you're living out your childhood dream here.
It's not child's play. Just because I have to traipse through the mud every so often.
His eyes narrow. I'm not going to ask about the real animals because that's patronizing. Have you ever discovered a cryptid?
No. Very few cryptids are ever discovered, and not for a lack of trying. To stay hidden is a cryptid's primary quality. It's even in the name, cryptid.
I'm going to ask the question, so how many cryptids have been found? But actually, quite a few cryptids have been found. It's just that once we find them, we stop calling them
Of
cryptids.
the list of cryptids kept by the Cryptozoological Society of Chemnee, which is 4,082 items long, about 2,000 have been confirmed as hoaxes.
I'm going. Wait, did you break into that one house that Everard sent me to? I did. I broke into it. But here's the thing. I've not reported back to Everard because I'm kind of avoiding him. You know what I mean? Hey, Critwitch. So I have broken in. I just haven't reported back because I'm being avoidant
Two
is
were
what it is.
categorized as confirmed discoveries. The rest are in differing stages of discovery, refutation, and data collection.
Only 2 have proven to be real?
Yes, the Chateau Quan forest pygmy, who turned out to be an extinct species of primate, and a cave salamander from Hugo Gray, who is, honestly, quite unremarkable. It's in a zoo somewhere. We cryptozoologists are brutally honest with ourselves.
It's temptation.
More so even than the public. With cryptids, most cryptids are hoaxes or they are never found. That does not mean we should stop searching.
I not approvingly. Then the Insulindian phasmid will be the third.
Indeed.
He does not
If
smile.
our expedition is successful, every paper in the world will report on it. From Revachol to Dushantu. It will be a zoological miracle.
My food intake today has been questionable, so as soon as I get off, which is going to be like right now, I'm going to go
He
and
has
get some
clearly
food.
done his math on this. There is no surprising him or swaying his opinion.
Thanks for explaining that. Now about something else.
Yes.
I'll get going. Everyone, look. Finished. We're going to go. And I'm going to get food. I'm going to nuke some food. I was thinking about making a soup, but I don't think I will. I think I'm just going to make some food. I'll make soup tomorrow. Also, I have good news. Hold on. I have some news, which I'm really excited about. You know how I'm like really close to finishing my 820-mile bike ride around the perimeter of Iceland? I have 30 miles left to go. but then the snow came. But the snow has melted. It's going to come back again, and it's going to also be raining. But I believe Saturday I'll be able to get a bike ride in. So I'm going to try. I don't know if I can. I have a nice 30-mile ride that I really like, although I haven't ridden in 2 weeks. But I might try to get that 30-mile bike ride in on Saturday after the stream, and then I will have completed my virtual race around Iceland, which I'm excited about. Just so you know. So I'm going because I've got to get food before Critical Role does its Candela Obscura. So thank you for being here. Let me tell you where you can find me next. Well, I'll be watching Candela Obscura, and you can hang out in my Discord and we can chat. Friday, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, on my channel will be Sandman. We'll be doing the second part of Prophet of Darkness, and hopefully they will complete the mission. That'll be awesome. Saturday at noon, I'll be playing Brain World. And I hopefully Saturday evening, I'll be riding my bike 30 miles. Let's see. And then you can find me on Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern over at Wandering DM's channel for more Montreal by Night. And I got to tell you, explosive outrageousness. So be prepared. That's what I'm doing. And thank you. You know, find me at Trooper SJP on here and also on YouTube and on Blue Sky, and find me at Academic Foxhole on Twitter and our Fourth Wall merch store, and also on Patreon. Those are all the places. I'm gonna go get food. Thank you, everybody. You all are the best, and I will. This was a really lovely day, everybody. It was a long day of work, and still a lot. Like, it's still kind of hectic. And coming out here and hanging out with you has been really nice. So thanks, and I will catch you on the flip side, everybody. Ciao.